Warning. Warning. This is not a test. This is not a test.
Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of the full-length Cup Challenge. Tonight we're excited to bring you coverage of all the action from iRacing's virtual Talladega Superspeedway here on Maconi Entertainment. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, with the Goat Locker Racing Series, the full-length Cup Challenge, and Fast Fridays. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Justin Prince. Alongside the who for tonight's race is Ron Mond. DJ Lion working the controls. That's our producer, using cameras provided by Whiplash SimCams. Tonight, it's Dega week, and tonight we go super speedway racing. It should be a fun time, Ron. For some at least, it's going to be a matter of strategy. For others, it's going to be about luck.
I think the best word to describe this race that we have coming up is survival. It is going to be a survival of the fittest, the survival of the smartest. Try and avoid getting struck by any falling anvils in this race coming up, and you will be golden. We're off the back of 24 hours ago here on Maconi Entertainment with a brilliant race with some of these exact same drivers in the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. They put on a great race one night ago, and here for the Cup cars, I have a feeling we're going to get exactly the same action that you usually expect here at Talladega.
32 to 33 degrees. The banking around these corners is going to bring plenty of speed for these drivers. Expect speeds upwards of 190 to 200 miles an hour around Talladega this week. Lucas Hoytsma has been on a bit of a tear as of late, but he picked up the win. That's time out in Bristol. 9 winners so far this season in 9 races, Ron. That's astounding. That soundness is going to be carrying over for the race itself here tonight. Remember, the team side of things look like this entering tonight. RH Motorsports over Fortis by 144 points now. 154, should say. Dirt South 332. You also throw Team Conti and Altus in the mix as well, amongst your top 5 in the team standings. But once again, last time out as mentioned, it was Lucas Hoytsma who picked up the W, and he's already coming off a win last night, Ron.
Yeah, Hoytsma put in a very good performance 24 hours ago here on Maconi Entertainment. Those Xfinity cars do run a little bit differently compared to these Cup cars, but Hoytsma, a very fast driver behind the wheel of that number 97 hot rod, grabbed that win last time out of Bristol 2 weeks ago. I have a feeling he's got to look to keep that momentum. We saw in those playoff standings, no driver has grabbed multiple wins thus far this season, but if anyone is going to do it and put in a statement to do it back-to-back, it'll probably be the number 97 of Hoytsma.
And he's one of the drivers with plenty of teammates to work with in the RH Motorsports camp. They have one of the biggest groupings as a whole in terms of crew members tonight. But Ralph Hutchinson was also up there. Robert Miller, Nicholas Froman was doing vroom things. Yeah, Benefield amongst the top 5 drivers. Last time out, it was Thomas Komacheski, interestingly enough, who picked up the fastest lap point on the night. Tonight, it might go to somebody like that in the heart of the field. We'll have to wait and see as the race goes on. So drivers already finishing up the warm-up session. It was one of the smallest grids of the season so far. Last time, it's another massive 45 cars ready to go at Talladega. 45 drivers ready to take it 2, 3, 4 wide round Dega here in Lincoln, Alabama. It's time to find out in the next moment or so how they set up for qualifying after qualifying on Friday and Saturday. So, these drivers get all set and ready to go. Let's take a look how they'll roll off here tonight. Jonathan Delaney will start on the pole. He'll start alongside Johan Seminario. Those drivers setting the fastest lap times during the week. Then Lucas Hoytsma will start in third. Different manufacturer tonight. Nicholas Roman in a Chevy, going with the pink machine in fourth. Derek Heitman will start in fifth position. Sean O'Brien Jr. high up in the running order in one of the RHM machines in the sixth spot. Owen Hodgson has so far ran really well throughout the season on the super speedways. He starts seventh. Tommy Gossett makes a start tonight. He's with Victory 1, giving a teammate this evening to Joey Preby. Jason S. Taylor starts at ninth, and Devin Medeiros rounds out your top 10 in this one.
Then looking through the rest of the field, it continues on with Dylan Kritz in the number 64 car starting this race in P11. Bobby Anderson starting alongside in 12th. Starting in lucky number P13, it will be Andrew Dyson. Billy Brickley set to join him on that 7th row. Looking right behind them, completing our top 15, will be Alex Murray. Matt DiCiani will start in P16. The number 4 machine starting in 17th will be John Williams in the 05, and Cameron Stone will line up alongside in P18. And then running out our top 20, we have Joey Preby and Adam Benefield.
21st spot goes the way of Stephen Williams. He'll start alongside the Aussie. That's going to be dangerous tonight in the super speedway. Ryan S. Jones in 22nd spot. Then it's Daniel Llewellyn who starts alongside Larry McDonald in the orange number 80. Dustin Hall, he's on probation tonight. He'll start alongside Paul Hill, who has looked very solid all season. Kevin Zosiak in the Ladybug car alongside the Dale Jr. paint scheme of Gregory Robinson. Rounding out the top 30 starting spots, Neil Pearson, and alongside him, Clayton Hoffman.
Then looking through the drivers starting outside of that, continues on with Eddie Rose in the 46 and Tyler W. Hunter in the 48. In the 47, starting in 33rd, will be Jim Shoefield, Carl Dodson set to join him on that row. In 35th is Brandon Hastings. In 36th, it is Evan Menard, my apologies, in the number 73 car. Starting in 37th will be Tanner Marty. In 38th, it will be Ed Ryan. Looking right behind them, running out our top 40, it will be Thomas Komacheski and Chad Sanner. Starting in 39th and 40th, respectively, Armis Jonatafropoulos. I apologize for the very likely butchered pronunciation. The Eastern European driver will start this race in 41st. William Owens in 42nd. Only a few more stars left to go. It continues on with Tony Benfield and Jordan Person starting this race in 43rd and 44th. And rounding out our field will be Ralph Hutchinson. This is going to be a fun race, JP. About to get this race underway. 188 laps of racing action, some stage cautions, 7 tires allotted to these drivers, but a heck of a lot of challenge that lies ahead.
That's in total sets. That's 6 total in the pit lane tonight for these competitors, stages to lap 60 and 120. But all set to go. Llewellyn will start from pit road. The rest of the field will start now. Green flag is out. We're underway from Talladega. Caution flag is out. We're already wrecking at the back of the field. Juan Petrovic, Owens amongst those in trouble. And we're off to a fantastic start from Talladega.
Yeah, not sure what in the world happened there as they made their way through the tri-oval to take the green. We saw some drama in the late stages of the Friday Night Lights race yesterday evening with the first green-white checkered attempt of that event ending in disaster. And there you can see some drivers banging and roughing each other up, the 90 and the 30 involved in that incident. Not really sure what kick-started it all, but a big amount of drama before we even grabbed the green.
There was a checkup with a 47. Huge stack of Tanner Marty collected. Juan Petrovic getting a lot of damage from that incident. Nose damage to Kolmacheski and rear end damage. Some of these drivers already going to have to go to pit road, and we're not even done lap 1.
Yeah, that is going to be a real tough kick in the shins to try and suck the pain up from. That is going to be a huge moment for those drivers. I always like to say in these races that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but in the early stages, you don't want to twist your ankle. They didn't even twist their ankle on the first step of the journey. They twisted their ankle as they were leaving their house. That is a very unfortunate way to get tonight's racing action started for them.
So, as expected, some repairs being done for some top boss for others. Stoney Benfield having to come down to pit road. Also, Brandon Hastings having to come down for bumper damage. You want to keep your cars very aerodynamic. You don't want to end up having significant damage throughout the race. It is a major burden if you're damaged.
Yeah, starting this race off on the wrong foot, not only is it so bad mentally, it also gets to the point where as much as you do want to get that damage repaired, it also reaches a certain point where it's like, okay, let's just try and dust this off as best as possible. It's so hard to do, though, having an incident in the very early stages. The driver's already coming down pit lane. Hastings still running down in the pits, 41.9 seconds total down pit lane. Not the start that these drivers wanted at all.
Seminario did take the race lead with the timing of the caution flag, interestingly enough. So a couple drivers will swap roads, essentially. Daniel Llewellyn technically did not get to keep the lead lap, because he was still on pit road when the caution came out, was rolling out, and now I think is getting the wave around. Yes, he is. He's got it.
Yeah, so that will be Llewellyn ending up on the lead lap. That was, talk about not having a good start. The 07 starting the race. It's like, hey, starting down the pits, hey, you're already one lap down. That would be a big kick in the shins for him, but thankfully is getting that wave around. So not a lot of harm or foul done under the first yellow of this race. And seeing some of those competitors come in to repair the damage that was inflicted on their race car, or maybe do some off-the-wall strategies. An early yellow like this, you wouldn't be gaining too much in terms of coming into the pits during this yellow flag cycle, but hey, a gain is a gain, and these drivers are still going to look to try and seize that opportunity.
Yes, indeed. Amongst the drivers with heavy damage that is still getting repairs done is Ralph Hutchison Jr. Mind you, he had a lot of heavy hits. There was a lot of talking the last time out, and actually in the past day or so, is the right phrasing, that he was very slow in qualifying, was at the very tail end of these drivers into running order, right? And that was a big talking point. Juan Petrovic was thinking he was going to be last, and then Hutchison's like, hey, I actually ran slower than you did. And now he's going to be fairly slow on the track with heavy front end damage.
You know what would be even worse than that, though, JP? If he started at the back thinking, you know what, I'm going to take it easy at the start. I am going to be at the back, let all the drivers have their battling, have their horse and pony show right in front of me. I'm going to pick off the spots as they all come to blows. Starting at the back thinking, yeah, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to avoid all the drama and then have a crash coming to take the green flag involving some of the cars at the back of the pack. That would be even worse.
So to reset your front runners, Seminario now in control, Delaney second, Hoytsma and Vrooman amongst the top 5. Then you'll have Heitman and O'Brien Jr., followed by Taylor and Hudson. Gossett and Kritz was able to get an edge for the top 10, it looks like. The upcoming restart situation amongst these drivers for this regrouping. So now that we have the first caution out of the way, how do you handle the race knowing we're already a yellow into the bag?
If I were one of these drivers up the front, I would probably go with the same strategy that he had at the start, because, I mean, all the drama happened with the cars behind, so not really anything the drivers up in the north end of the field could really do differently. Granted, if they're like, you know what, we're going to take lead from those drivers and we're all going to crash bang and beat each other out, that's probably not going to win them any favors at all in this race. I mentioned this right towards the top end of the show, talking about the survivability and just being there at the end of these races. Gotta be super vital to try and do well. So dust this first yellow off, say, hey, look, we still got a long way left to go in this race. Only 4 laps into 188 laps here at Talladega Superspeedway. There's no point getting caught up in all the small stuff. So for these racers, the real thing that should pop into their head at this stage is don't lose sight of where that checkered flag is. It is still a long way up the road.
Well, ready to go. You're looking at your track temps as clouds settle over the track. 107 currently, that track temp. 85 is your temp. Very summer-like here in Alabama. As we get set to go racing again. Let's try this once more, with feeling this time. Seminario set to go in the restart zone. Green flag is out, and we are underway once more from Dega. And a clean start this time, no issues. Seminario leads the bottom.
And you can see that top side not having a lot of cars to it. You've got a small low pack of race cars and a pretty big gap. Let's see if that closes up or whether that top side is maybe going to stall out a little bit heading onto the backstretch for the first time under green.
Good push now from the back end for Delaney to the front end of Vrooman. But the inside line still has the better momentum carried forward. Seminario. Looks like he's going to try and get the edge for the lead lap. It's faster down the middle of the racetrack, down the straightaways though. That gives the edge to the 6th-year pole sitter, and he clears himself. Very close call.
As you can see, these racers completing the first lap under green, 3 wide, heading off through the tri-oval. You said earlier on, JP, these drivers are going to be making it 2 wide, 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide between now and the end of this race. Looks like that top side not having a lot of momentum, though, as we go on to the back straightaway yet again. I think that bottom line has got that head of speed.
Yeah, now they're starting to really settle in, and it looks like many of the drivers are going with the mantra quite simply, get to the bottom, keep it clean until pit stops, because much of the field has already moved to the bottom of the racetrack, except for those out in the teens on back. The front runners not looking to battle too hard here. This car has a lot of side draft that can affect this pack, mind you, if you're side by side.
Yeah, it's just some of the other quirks and features that surround this next-gen car that make draft racing and plate racing period so different from both the Gen 6 and the Xfinity cars that we saw last night here on Maconi Entertainment. One thing that I do want to raise, though, one of the comparisons between the Xfinity and the Cup cars. Those Xfinity cars in the bump drafting were about as sketchy as you could possibly get. I think verbatim I described those Xfinity cars and how sketchy they were once he got a bit of a tandem draft going on as taking out some soft set jello out of a fridge when it doesn't have enough time there and it's still a little bit liquefied whilst an earthquake is going on. So it's rather sketchy in those Xfinity cars. These Cup cars, on the other hand, a bit more level when it comes to bump drafting. The bumpers align a little bit better, which is certainly going to be something these drivers are happy about.
You take a look at some of the drivers in the heart of the field as they try and battle it out. Looking up the center of your screen right now is one of the Conti machines. That's John Williams. Haven't seen too much of John Williams towards the front this season. So far, it's amongst the drivers trying to get things moving at the inside line as they reconnect on the bottom here. He's been able to hook up with a couple Conti cars in this pack, though. Benefiel is down there, Cam Stone with them. To his outside is Eddie Rhodes, who's another Conti car.
And seeing these drivers start to find their sparring partners now into lap 9 of this 188 lap race. Still a heck of a lot of racing left to go here, JP. But already seeing these drivers try and figure out who they are the most comfortable with.
Looks like Gossett wants to go to the front. He's seen some momentum on the outside for a bit of a checkup. Looks like he is electing to let Breby go as a result of that situation. Just not enough momentum on the top. It takes a lot of work and effort to get that top line working after a bit, even with the momentum offset. Just with the nature of how this package is and how much you need that first line to push and then that second car behind them in that line to push. You almost need a triple car tandem to keep the momentum going like it's trying to right now.
And now starting to see that high side maybe gain some willing collaborators at the present moment. See who will decide to take that high side, take that run, and try and power your way up towards that front. The inside line still dominant in numbers and dominant in speeds. You can see some drivers maybe deciding to play ball the high side, dipping out from that inside line a little bit farther in the back. It is a little bit broken up though, this field, so that high side will need a bit more drivers, possibly ones inside the top 5, to break away before they get a whole lot of momentum going on.
One Hodgson right now holding on. Hodgson still holding on to the 6th position. See him with the VR headset staying laser focused once again. It's so important to be so smooth on that steering wheel. You can't be bobbling. You can't handle the bumps too hard or else you're going to be in trouble. Right now, just keeping a nice and sturdy wheel on that 12.
Yeah, and you can see the patience that he has at the present moment. And look at the throttle tracing. That's always the most fascinating part when it comes to plate racing. You think, okay, yeah, big track, you're just running around here going flat out the whole time. No, you're balancing that throttle. You're probably having to do a bit more throttle management here than you would at a track like Bristol, for instance, from 2 weeks ago. It seems so counterintuitive, but it makes sense. You need to take those runs when you have them. You don't want to just gun it. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself taking all of the runs you can get, go to the high side, have no one go with you, and then you're just going to stall out. Getting a fantastic view of that. Going to get many more views like it throughout this broadcast.
Right now, Gossett shooting his way on the outside. That outside line's worked very hard with the help of Larry McDonald's pushes. And Eddie Rose allowing the 3rd car to stay stable. But here comes some of the other drivers to break things up a little bit. Vroman moves up with Hodgson now as they move up the track to try and get to the point.
Yeah, that high side finally getting those drivers who are like, you know what, I want to see how this takes me. That is going to be a real turning point in this race. Vroman with the run on the high side. He's going to jump all the way into the race lead. Now, is he going to jump in front of the 6 of Delaney? Will we end up seeing him play scab? I don't think he will just yet, but I feel like it's only going to be a matter of time before we start to see that high side start to defect back against the inside line.
So Nicholas Vroman is clear for the lead. In fact, just about 4 or 5 cars are clear. The outside line absolutely blistering quick that time around as now Vroman blocks the lines. Gossett stays on the inside. Now they're working with one of the drivers in the Conti camp outside the series, a Fortis driver, and Derek Heitman now working with these drivers on the inside groove.
And I'm still curious as to how that high side is going to perform over the next couple of laps. They had that massive head of speed. Now you've just got 5 cars running up there at the front. It's 5 cars versus a world is what it really feels like at the present moment in this race. Will we see any more of these drivers decide, you know what, I'm going to abandon this high side. I'm just going to jump down. McDonald, you can see him lifting, feathering that throttle, giving as much of a bump to Hodgson in that 12th machine in front as he can, but there's only so much they can do. That inside line has a heck of a lot of momentum. You can see them getting their doors blown off all through 3 and 4.
Yeah, right now that outside has dissipated with those cars that you would expect to charge up front. Once again, those Ryko-powered machines go very fast, usually on the super speedways, and that's the tough thing. If you have, it's so much an equalizer, right, when it comes to super speedway racing. However, you have a good setup, it takes a lot more effort to equalize against a more powerful set.
Yeah, and that's one thing that is another thing that's a little bit counterintuitive talking about plate racing. You usually think, alrighty, just tear out a lot of downforce off of it and you're going to be good. No, it does require a bit of finesse when it comes to crafting a setup for these plate races, and we are seeing those drivers that maybe have a bit more practice under their belts, know what their car is doing, know what their car needs, and they've been able to maximize that setup. We're starting to see those racers go back up towards the front, and speaking of getting back up towards the front, we do have that high side. It briefly deteriorated, but it is now formed up yet again. We're following some of these racers as they are running that high side. Let's see if we're going to have any more takers this time.
Caution flag is out. It's trouble for Tanner Marti, who was at the very back of the queue. He's had a spin off the nose of Kevin Soziak. The caution took some time to come out because he afterwards took some time to be able to get woed up.
See that moment heading off through 1 and 2. Lots of being and banging and roughing each other up. We're going to take a look at another angle of this following the driver of the number 29 car. He was one of the Dash for Cash competitors in the Xfinity race yesterday. The 37 hitting that double yellow line, hitting the apron, and just augering straight into the side of the 29. Nothing Marty Cove really done there.
He gets bounced around and significantly pinged around. Some damage now to parts of that car as a result of the caution flag. So it looks like this going to bring us into a situation where we see a pit party down to this lane right here in the next little bit. There's already 17 laps into the run here, about halfway or so on the fuel run, give or take. Going to be fairly tight in theory for the end of stage 1 still.
Yeah, and I talked about this a lot during the Xfinity Series race yesterday evening here on Maconi Entertainment. Fuel strategy, a big factor of these plate races. May end up seeing some of these drivers run out of gas. You can see them already running on the apron to try and get as much fuel into the pump as you can possibly get, as we have a lot of drivers deciding that now is the time to pit. Look at that.
So,
that is a massive train of race cars. I think that's the entirety of the field there, JP.
Yeah, it is. So into pit road for the entire pack. Should see some 2-tire, if not no tire calls. Tommy Gossett is amongst the first off the lane. No, it's going to be Vroman. It goes Vroman. In front, Vroman. Able to get the edge over Heitman and Gossett. Delaney, Seminario, the top 5 in the race off pit road. An interesting one so far, to say the very least. But now we might see a lot of heavy fuel saving to make sure these drivers try and get the distance for the stage.
And that is going to be a big game changer in this first stage. That pit strategy played a huge role in that Xfinity Series race last night, as I just alluded to a few moments ago. Gonna be seeing a case of deja vu yet again here, this time for the Cup competitors. Slightly longer race, but still a lot of action left to go.
Take a break. More coverage coming up. You're watching Maconi Entertainment for coverage of the FLCC.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back, everyone, to Maconi Entertainment. More coverage of the Full-Length Cup Challenge as tonight we're at Talladega. Right now, Nicholas Vroman up in front over Derek Heitman for the restart. Based on things, we had some people top off at why you see some of the drivers up front a moment ago, well, fall to the back like Tommy Gossett. So a few drivers trying to play it careful here, Ron, to make sure they can get to the end of the stage. It will be 41 laps to be able to make the distance in this stage on gas.
I gotta wonder what these drivers are keeping their fingers crossed for. Will they want some more yellows? Are they going to hope that we run all the way to the checkered flag in this stage? Let's just wait and see. We already have 2 yellows at opening lap collision right before we even grabbed the green, and that moment we saw for the number 29 of Tanner Marty a few moments ago. It's been a rather broken up race to this point, but the first 20 laps going to be in a rear view mirror as we're coming back to green.
Coming up to the green flag here. Roman and Heitman back underway. Good start for the 95. Great start, in fact, a little bit too good as Delaney tries to suck up to the back bumper. As the inside line tries to get back to speed.
And that 6 car of Jonathan Delaney, I feel like, is going to be a driver that we have to talk about a lot throughout tonight's racing action. He's quick. That 6 car is very competitive in these plate races. I have a feeling we will be seeing a lot of him here this evening. That outside line trying to make something work, but some more drivers defecting to the inside line. That, I believe, was the number 97 of Lucas Hoytsma, looking for back-to-back wins in that number 97 Sonny D machine. Currently found himself in P5 at the present moment, involved in this inside line, which seems to be the dominant one very early on.
Black flag, Ed Ryan, lane change before the start and finish line. He was running 27 before his penalty, so Ryan will come down to serve the black flag. The rest of the field now continues on without him. And already some people try to save pretty aggressively if you follow the throttle movements. Billy Brickley with a big cushion in front of him, trying to save. Some of these people trying to pull back on the throttle. Some people not afraid to go 195 still.
We're actually seeing the front 5 in this race break away a teeny tiny bit, a half a second between Rose and Seminario, so that is a pretty big gap as we see that notice for the black flag for Ed Ryan in the number 51 car. A bit of a breakaway forming at the north end of this field. It is possible to do in a plate race. You don't see it terribly often though, but right now, JP, we got those front 5 starting to pull away.
Yeah, big amount actually. Seminario's been ditched as well. And I think that's with how some of these drivers are really trying to make sure they don't overexert their fuel limits on this track. Some of the people are saying, well, you know what, I'm going to the front, like DeCiani and Heitman for Fortis. But many others are just saying, I want to make it to the stage end.
Yeah, with the drama we've had early on into this race, I think that's a rather good strategy. Say, you know what, as much as it would be cool to go for all that glory, make the highlights real, and be the center of attention, I also want to be there at the end of this race, be involved in the battle for the win, coming to take the checkered flag. No point going for a bonsai overtake on lap 25 if you're not going to even be there anywhere near lap 125, let alone lap 188. Still a lot of stuff that these drivers have to keep in mind. Remaining patient certainly being one of them.
New fastest lap, DeCiani, as Heitman looks like he's going in line. They reached their goal. How much they wanted to close up there. Same for Preby on the back of Seminario on the bump to be able to close them up in the line. So the fuel save games are underway for a lot of these cars here. We do have people losing the draft who topped off on gas. Remember Tommy Gossett, who was able to get up front earlier on? Well, he has lost the draft with Jim Schofield, with Tanner Marty, with Devin Medeiros, all of them struggling to work together.
Yeah, not seeing too many of these drivers working together as pairs. They're just playing a rather selfish game at the present moment. Everyone's in their own little bubble. As a driver myself, I can tell you that racing drivers are rather selfish at certain points in time. It kind of comes with being a driver. You have to think about yourself. You have to go for the victory. But at this stage, you don't need to be peaceful with your competitors, but at least sign a brief truce. Be like, hey, let's get to the end of this race. Let's work together for now. Then come time for the final 25 laps, we can basically tell each other to screw off. That is a winning strategy here at Talladega, but it's not one that many of these races are picking up.
Good point with how things could go here in this one. So lots of action left to work with as you see people in the pack try and get all sorted away. That includes McDonald up on the top. Komachevsky's fixed much of the damage. They're all working off Jordan Pearson. An interesting pronunciation, but it's a family pronunciation for the 14. The Ghost Machine looking to see if he can find a spooky way up front.
I like that. I like that a lot, JP. But there you can see the 14 leading that top train at the present moment. Will we see anyone decide to join that train? I have a feeling that as often as we have seen that outside line stall out, we may end up seeing that run work out. We saw it work earlier on, albeit very briefly. They've got a monstrous run on that high side. We may end up seeing something work out here for the 14.
Yeah, it's looking like it's looking pretty solid. Up to 19th right now on the line. See that speed, though, dropping as he's not getting too much help. Steven Williams refuses to push him on the bumper flush that you need if you want to really fly up through this pack compared to some of the others. Some communication is popping up on the radio. That's because lap traffic, you see Ed Ryan is now being reached. This is going to be the first time anyone's going to have lap traffic to deal with today. Ryan, well out of the way on your screen.
And And you can see those lap traffic encounters going to be tough for these competitors. I described it during that Friday Night Lights broadcast one evening ago here on Maconi Entertainment. Those lap traffic encounters here at Talladega can basically be like sticking your thumb over the outlet of a hose and turning it on. That is going to be a big choke point for these competitors, and if they catch them in a bad way, you're going to be in for a world of trouble. Thankfully, though, Jones out of harm's way, not going to affect this battle at all. If we caught up to lap traffic and we were 3 wide, though, that would be the point where I'd be rather terrified on these drivers' behalves.
Pack splintering up as some more people try different strategies. Some more hubbier fuel saving for some, others not so much. Now we're looking at the most spots picked up so far. You know who's moving? Eddie Rose. He's in the top 5, plus 26 like Jordan Pearson so far. The next biggest mover, Tyler Hunter.
And Eddie Rose is a driver that I didn't really get a good view of in that Friday Night Lights broadcast one night ago in the Xfinity race yesterday. He got involved in an early incident, got taken out of contention, but before then, he was running rather strong, the number 46. Maybe a driver we have to think about throughout this race. Looking at the top 10, though, and the drivers who are currently battling tooth and nail for every spot they can get. Roman, I think we need to keep our eye on the driver of the number 95 car all throughout this race, the 97 of Hoytsma. He's got to be very quick in that Sunny D machine. He's been going for some rather bold moves, finds himself in 4th at the present moment. As we just said, Eddie Rose in that 46 car, a driver we need to keep tabs on as well. Lots of competitive racers all throughout this field, and again, it's Talladega. Anyone could walk away with the checkered flag at the end of this race.
There's been a lot of communication, and we'll note though, Ron, on this group. You can guess why, with them already losing the trap. A lot of them saying, okay, do this, do that. Gosson in particular trying to coach the 47 and his competitor Tanner Marti do exactly what we were talking about. Close up using the triple car tandem and keep the car stable while doing so.
And we have seen in the past, both in real life and in the sim, these small little breakaway packs actually being able to make hay while the sun is shining, just work together, get that head of speed, not have to worry about a massive pack of cars, not worry about getting into an incident, and works out rather well for you. These drivers playing fair for now. The 47 going to be dropping down, probably giving the 33 and some of the others a chance to get some clean air into that nose. Off the back of the Xfinity race last night, I'm getting bad flashbacks of blowing up motors. These Cup cars, though, I don't think have anywhere near as bad of overheating difficulties as the Xfinity cars do, but you still need to have some swapperoos every now and then. Otherwise, that motor is going to pop like bubble wrap.
That outside line we talked about that was making some inroads, well, it's still making inroads. Long side for 15th position. Now trying to zoom alongside Bobby Anderson out there trying to fare things out. It's slow but steady on the progress as Komacheski pushes him past 2 more cars.
And starting to see the push and game. These drivers ramping up the aggression a little bit on lap 31, coming to 32 this time by. So we are slowly but surely reeling up to the end of this first stage here tonight. And I think that's part of the reason why these drivers are getting a bit more aggressive. We're into a solidly okay green flag run, not the longest we've had thus far this evening. Who knows, may end up being the start of something big to come. But these drivers ramping up that aggression ever so slightly. I wouldn't say we're up to 10 at this point, but I think we are slowly getting above 5.
A bit of snaking in now as we have a second line on the outside that just jumped back there. Taylor like to jump to the outside, noted in the background with Alex Murray. So a few drivers at least trying some things. And what's kind of the mindset with all this testing you can put in about halfway to the stage?
Yeah, I would say for these drivers, it's a bit of, I'm trying to think of the best word really to describe it. I would say it's probably a bit of an R&D session at the moment, trying to figure out how you feel in the draft, how you feel around your competitors, test out some different stuff. You don't need to swing at the fences because that can either go two ways. You're either going to hit a home run or that baseball is going to whack you in the eye. There's only two ways that can go. So these drivers aren't going to be throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, but they are going to be testing the waters a little bit. The best way I could probably describe it is dunking your feet into the pool to try and test whether or not that water is too cold or too warm. Just get comfortable with the rest of this race. If you head into the late stages involved in a battle for the win and you're about as unconfident as a blind marmoset at a Tootsie Roll factory, you're not going to be doing too well in that battle. So these drivers looking to get a bit more comfortable around here.
Not looking great for those who've lost the draft, by the way. 5.8 seconds. They are right now equalizing, but that's not going to be helpful. They've lost a ton of ground as of late after picking up Robinson in that pack as the front runner. Dustin Hall, the next one up.
And you can see these drivers still trying to work together to close up that gap. They are probably hoping for a yellow, though, if we are being completely honest. That's a rather big cushion between those competitors. So I have seen Stranger Things. I'm not talking about the show that you have to stream on Netflix. But, you know, I think there's a certain amount of things that you can recover from. This is not one of them. That's a rather big gap as we continue this game of leader leapfrog in this pack. Waiting to have another driver get up to the front, get some clean air on their nose, cool that engine off a teeny tiny bit. I just don't really think this 5-car pack is working out too well for these competitors.
They're struggling to get up to here with what's happening right now. And a lot of drivers electing to just ride in the back, and it's pretty clear that the strategy is simple. The Conti cars do so. Big check in front of them. Huge cut to the outside. Carl Dodson had to make as they inside checked up hard.
Yeah, those checking up moments, that is oh so sketchy for drivers up and down this field. At a plate race, if you see a driver slam on the brakes, chances are something has gone desperately wrong, or something would go desperately wrong in the not too far off future. Take a look at a replay to see a moment involving the number 9. You can see checking up big time on that straightaway, dipping out to the outside line, taking that run. I wonder, will he be able to slip in tow to the number 7, or actually catch up to some of the drivers at the front of that high side? Actually worked out rather well for the number 9, but that was a huge stack up. That is a code brand moment if ever you see one in a plate race.
And most of the field is now running at the bottom. Nobody wants to go except for maybe Dodson. Gains on the bottom, and now he's found a place. The only two people not moving forward, Andrew Dyson and Ryan Jones. They've moved down. So do you like conga lines? Do you like choo-choo trains? Do you like long lines at the supermarket as you try and buy that one item, and that one item sees you in the express line with 25 others with one item? That is the story of what we're seeing now.
I think George Carlin had a bit like that, of confusing people at the grocery store. Get a shopping cart, fill it to the brim with items, get a huge, ginormous load of items, and then go up to someone in the express self-checkout lines and walk up to them and say, hey, can I get ahead of you? I only have 9,000 items. I think that's what we're seeing at the present moment. This race has definitely settled into a groove. The express lane, self-checkout lane is what we're seeing in the bottom end of the racetrack.
Yeah, and it's kind of where you understand why this is the case, though, Ron. Yeah, people like to see 3 wide, but the drivers like to say, but race car needs to be there at the end.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are seeing from these competitors. They want to go side by side and battle for the win. They also want to battle for the win, and having your car hooked up to a wrecker 50 laps in is not the way to win anything. That would win a knuckle sandwich from your crew chief if you did that in real life, would not net a trip into victory lane at the end of this race here at Talladega. So settling into a groove, getting these laps whittled away. Probably towards the end of the stage, we will start to see these competitors decide to go for it, go for the moves, go for the dives, go for the three-wide racing action. But for now, as we're still in the midst of this second stage, there's no point fighting too hard. You're just going to end up with a wrecked race car and no points to go with it.
More people about to fall a lap down. It's Wallen this time that's at risk of doing so. It's right now 42nd. It's not been the race the PSN machine has wanted, to say the very least. There he goes. And he'll have to hope he can migrate to the bottom and hope to stay on lead lap and be ahead of Ed Ryan and Stoney Benfield. This goes on. Will he find a hole? Yes, he will.
You gotta find a small little pocket to get yourself into that cozy little nook for these drivers. Of course, that cozy nook going to find them at a steady click of well over 190 miles an hour. Speaking of things in the hundreds, though, I want to say the track temperatures are scorching hot at the present moment. 117 degrees Fahrenheit. That is rather toasty. Thankfully, we aren't at a track that acts as a cheese grater on the tires. If we were running at a track like, I don't know, Martinsville, Bristol, something of the sort, a road course, for instance. If we were running on a road course, these drivers would be skidding around like there's no tomorrow. So thankful that we are just running flat out at 117 degrees Fahrenheit. That is still going to sting.
It's still going to be a trouble spot if you keep the tires on past the first stint, like much of the field has done. These cars could get a little bit sketchy as time goes on, as you leave them balanced on tires, and we see those left and right sides cook around this track. 24 laps into the stint, by the way, for the field. And now we'll have to keep an eye on if there's anybody going to make a move early, or if it's just going to be like this. Are there 15 or so laps? I'm curious, too, if everybody's going to make it the full distance. That's part of the challenge on what we're seeing here and why these drivers also are trying to save hard.
Yeah, I gotta wonder what's going on in these drivers' heads. What are they playing at? What are they trying to accomplish in this stage? Are they trying to get some better fuel numbers? Are they just trying to make it to the end? Are they deciding to do their best Thomas the Tank Engine impression? Let's just wait and see. There's still a lot of time left to go for these drivers and their varied strategies and their various approaches to this race to either shine or burn out. Let's just wait and see. We're only on lap 42, coming up 43 of 188 total laps. Quite a big up there from 118, like I said before. That's a lot of time left to go in this race for these drivers. So don't need to force the issue too badly, but you do reach that point where you have to think about the long game.
Indeed. So all the planning continuing on in a calm one. It almost feels to where, too, you almost have to wonder what the game plan is going to be. Do you prioritize the stage points or the race win for the overall points, so to speak? That seems to be part of the plotting process as time goes on amongst these drivers. Hearing some secret plans maybe also underway on the radio, so add that if you will.
Yeah, I gotta hear the drivers have a conversation with each other in that iRacing game chat, and it's basically going to be like listening to Ferrari team radio. Gonna hear someone talk about plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Still, these drivers gonna be throwing anything at the wall, seeing what sticks. I do want to say, talking about what strategy may be the one that is prioritized by these competitors, If it were me, keyword being if, there's a very good reason why I'm behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel, I would probably decide to go for that win. Based off that playoff situation and how many drivers have won up to this point, we may find ourselves in a situation where multiple drivers, way too many drivers, punch their way into the playoffs with a win. Over 16 drivers winning it by the end of this regular season would mean that it's just a matter of who gets the most amount of wins. So if it were me, I would probably be eyeballing that overall black and white checkered flag instead of the green and white checkered flag at the end of these stages.
There is something we haven't really talked about this much this season because, well, we haven't been at super speedways all that often. The King of the Super Speedway Series is another aspect to also consider here, where it's not about that overall championship, it's about the how you drive at super speedway type of championship. 7 races at Daytona, at Talladega, Michigan, and Atlanta in the season within a season, like the tournament, so to speak. Person with the most points in the 7 races with the drop gets named the King of the Super Speedway. It's a $250 cash prize, Ron, if you get the King of the Super Speedway award.
And no matter how you slice it, $250 is $250. These drivers are probably going to end up prioritizing that $250. That is a pretty good payday for an iRacer. So that's a nice little thing to keep our eyes on throughout the rest of this season. Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, Michigan sticking out a little bit. It is 2 miles long, longer than Atlanta, but not really too much of a super speedway race. I still really enjoy running some of the next-gen cars around there, though. But regardless, $250 for this in-season little tournament with these super speedway races. That would be a pretty darn good payday for some of these competitors if they can get the job done.
Under 15 laps to go on the stage, some cushions building up. By the way, points are awarded in the stages for those who have not picked up the top 10 in stage points, plus a playoff point, remember, for the stage winner, which is also critical for later on in the season. Lead, not so much a matter, but the fast lap is also something to keep in mind because of the real world rule book, as we are replicating the real world schedule, so to speak, and how it functions. So it's also important to make sure that if you want to do well, or at least get some cushion, or those not in the postseason window, to prioritize stages. Some people can obviously prioritize the race win, who already are locked in for the win, for more wins to add to the playoff point total, and to, well, their win total on the season. Right now, come up to 12 to go, Ron. Somebody is going to have to go eventually.
And I wonder who is going to be the first to go for a move, try and break away, break out this small little sense of monotony that we've had over the past 10 laps of these drivers running around the track, around and 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 around on that inside line. Who's going to be the first to break away? I don't know why. There's no real rhyme or reason for this. I have a feeling that it is going to be a driver just barely inside the top 10. I'm looking at the likes of Komacheski, McDonald, DeCiani, Heitman, and maybe a driver like Seminaro and Preeb potentially going for some moves as well. I think they may be one of the first to break away, and then some of the drivers like maybe Jonathan Delaney running in the 6th car in P2, maybe a driver like Hodgson in 3rd, Hoytsma in 4th, Rose, who has been very fast all throughout this race, may decide to lick the stamp and set it as well. We are going to see that break form in the not too far off future. I have a feeling it's going to start from the lower to mid pack of that front pack fight.
And trouble if you are a Conti driver. Guess what? All the Conti cars have lost the draft. So obviously they're not going to be in the conversation for the stage win. They have the stage caution coming up to regroup them, but still, their plan seems to be stay out of the trouble. They have really backed it down, trying to save hard. Yeah,
they have been taking it easy. They've been in the slow lane, so to speak, as of recent. I wonder if they are deciding to say, you know what, screw the stage points, we're just going to be eyeballing that victory, get there to the checkered flag, stay together as a team, and then we can worry about the later stages of this race. That may be what they're eyeing up here. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad strategy. Doesn't look too great at the moment. I don't want to do a Denny Hamlin from earlier on this year, try and prioritize that win and still get caught up in an accident regardless, and obviously not take the checkered flag. Don't have something like that happen, but at the same time, if you play your cards right in some of these races, you can play that strategy to perfection. So we have the 90 down pit lane.
They're at risk of being lapped anyhow. So it looks like the 90 just electing to give chase and come in for service. 10 to go, coming to 9 to go in the stage. The 90 already going to be in trouble the whole rest of the way. They are 3 laps down. Now it's going to be, where in the world are we going to see someone duck out for a stage win? Nobody so far who's maintaining up to 197. I'm concerned if you're Nicholas Vroman. He's led all these laps. Is he going to have enough gas here?
Yeah, he has been the hole punch in this field at the moment. He's been punching that hole in the air. He's been allowing the drivers behind to get some absolutely fantastic fuel numbers. But for Vroom Vroom Vroman, he's been vroom vrooming up at the front of the field for an incredible amount of time. His engine is nice and cool, but at the same time, his fuel tank may be not so nice and completely empty before we get to the end of this stage. Will Vroman have to back out of it? He has not gotten any assistance draft-wise for quite some time. We may have to think about this.
The 90 not going to be in the contention for the Lucky Dog, obviously. Now make it this time around 4 laps down for Juan Petrovic. He's had a disastrous race here so far tonight. Still working around 8, coming to 7 laps to go. And keep in mind, there are still in this main pack, give or take, about 31 cars that could do a lot of damage to themselves if they handle this the wrong way.
And handling the end of these stages can really be the deciding factor in how you do, period. If you get yourself in a real troublesome spot, get involved in an accident at the end of this stage, obviously you're not going to do well throughout the rest of it. That goes without saying. These drivers need to treat these ends of the stage battles with about as much importance and about as much due diligence as you possibly can. You can't go for the insane dives. You can't really do something like that. If you find yourself in a trouble spot, you are going to be screwed. So for these competitors, as much as they want to go for the win, as much as they want to go for that dive, it's not really in their best interest to go for some insane heart pumping and stealing the action, stealing the moment overtakes. Just not really something that suits their cause. So I wonder how exactly these competitors are going to do it. Giving it a challenge for sure, but I'm not sure if they're going to be throwing all 100% of themselves at this stage win.
I'm not sure if they're even going to turn more than 50%. Maybe give the old good college try. That's about it. Maybe you would see for the lead, coming up to 5 laps to go here from Dega in this stage. Mind you, your top 10 looks like this. If it was to finish like this, it'd be Vroman, Delaney, Hodson, Hoytsmont, Rose, Pearson, along with Komacheski, McDonald, DeCiani, and Heitman. They're sorted, but it's pit stops. They cannot make it. They all hold the cards until the end, and we have a crash. Dyson slides, a spin for Paul Hill. A pit party with less than 5 to go.
And pit pandemonium as it came to blows heading down into the pits. Green flag stops here at Talladega. That is always such a tough call for these drivers have to make it. But hey, better to come in, swallow your pride, and fill it up. So I got to imagine that these competitors, as much as it's going to sting, they had to do it. Talking again about setting yourself up well for the end of this race. You can throw away the stage as long as you don't bring out a yellow. Those drivers coming to blows, though, certainly not the strategy that they had in mind on that pit entry, I should say.
And this is going to be a dangerous game for some. Remember, pit road closes with 2 to go. Vroman has just brought the rest of the leaders in. Let's take a look at one of the replays. Dyson had a wild moment.
Let's take a look at this. Here we go. Oh my God, that was multiple drivers coming to blows. Well held though from the 41. That could have been so much worse. Granted, it could have been a lot better if he didn't have that slide. He would have gained out on a bit of time. But in terms of making the most out of a bad situation, wow, gee willikers.
That could have been a lot worse. But he's once drivers in onto a small pack. This now gets wild as everybody has to come down. The Conti cars had to come down. Still not at the 2 to go mark, mind you. Noah Hudson is currently in front of Clayton Hoffman, and they've got a huge cushion with Joey Preby in third spot as things shape up in the 3-car tandem.
And that 3-car pack, it seems like they're going to be all by themselves at the end of this first stage. So 3 cars battling hard. Do they have enough stuff to try and mount a challenge on each other? Let's see if they actually have to come into the pits as well. You can see straddling that yellow line, not coming down in the pits. They're in it for the long haul. They're going to see this stage out, I'm pretty sure. But look at Hoffman in that number 92 car. That car is sliding around like an absolute... Good Lord, that's a wild, look at that, just dancing all around the racetrack right behind that number 12 car. I don't have a good feeling about Hoffman in that number 92 machine. He's just dancing around the track way too much for my own comfort.
So just about the entire field had to come down at the minimum there. Nobody with the top off was able to stretch it essentially. Can Nolan Hudson hold on for a couple more laps? Will he get ditched for the stage? Mind you, Thomas Komacheski is grouped up with Billy Brickley, with Tyler Hunter, with Nicholas Roman and company in the other group. As things are going, pit road is officially closed. 2 laps to go in stage 1.
And for Hodgson, I was talking about him maybe being the one that would break away. Never saw that high side form, and considering these pit stops, that stands to reason as to why those drivers decide to stay in a line. No point going side by side if you had to worry about some pit stops. That just makes it a lot easier. But as these drivers are running by themselves, if we end up seeing a whole lot of side-by-side battling with these competitors, I'm not sure if there would be enough time for the likes of Roman, Hoytsma, Womacheski, and some of the other drivers a little bit farther in the back of the pack in this race to catch up to them. But that will still be rather tense if these competitors start to battle all the way to the end of this stage. Hodgson going to be taking the white flag here in stage 1 with a less than a tenth of a second the gap between himself and Hoffman.
1 to go now in this stage, and it's a 3-car race for the win in stage 1. 4th on back could get interesting on how they sort out the points. You're still looking at that pack. Nobody trying to find a way around from Vroom. But now it's going to be the run up to the line. Will Hoffman go for the stage points? Will Preby go for the stage upset for his first stage win of the season? Coming up to the line, Hoffman on the bumper. Is he going to make the cut right? The answer looks to be no. Hodgson holds on. He'll win stage 1 over Hoffman and Preby. Roman next, Hoytsma, followed by Komacheski, Hunter, Brickley, Heitman, and Seminario, your top 10.
And for Hodgson in that number 12 car, that is a very well-earned stage win. Certainly going to be seeing some more of these drivers make that run down into pit lane. That fuel strategy we talked about in the earlier stages of this race going to be super vital as to how things shake out. And hey, we just saw it affect stage 1. Imagine how badly it's going to affect the end of this race.
Indeed, here they're going to take some time now to be able to catch up to the pace car. And we finish off the stage with 39 cars on the lead lap. Llewellyn, Jones, McDonald, Ryan, Benfield, and Watt Petrovic all lost laps during stage 1. So they are going to be in a world of hurt, likely for the rest of the way. You see your stage winners camera.
And for Hodgson, I wonder what's going through his mind at the moment. Stage 1 victory here at Talladega. That number 12 car has got some speed, but there's still so much longer left in this race. As much as that stage 1 win is going to be tasted, that's going to be, it's going to leave a nice taste in Hodgson's mouth. Still got a long way left to go. You don't want to get caught up on that too much, because if you find yourself focusing on that a little bit too much, you're going to be swallowed up, chewed up, and spat at by the rest of the field in the second stage and the final stage of this race as well. But for Hodgson, it's a stage 1 victory. I'm sure he's going to take it.
Want to see pit stops before we go a step aside. So pit stops coming up here. We'll see who elects to take some tires here for grip, and who elects to take track position up at the front here to start stage 2. Should see everybody come in theory. And it looks like that answer is yes. Why not make sure you're equal on strategy?
Yeah, just being able to start this second stage with a clean slate, so to speak. Not everyone coming down pit lane. Saw one driver deciding to stay out, but for a vast majority of this field, deciding to get stage 2 kicked off with a clean slate, not having to worry about what happened in stage number 1. You could just hit the ground running here with 62 laps already in your rearview mirror. Don't have to think about too much. Hodgson taking 4 tires in this pit stop, just about everyone taking 2. That will hurt him out a little bit. Going to be restarting this race outside of the top 10. The 2-tire call making its appearance here at Dega.
So it's Nicholas Verlman, Lucas Hoitzma, Derek Heitman, Johan Seminario, and Matt DiCiani, the top 5 off pit road. Take a step aside. More coverage coming up. You're watching Maconi Entertainment.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to tonight's action here from Talladega. Nicholas Verlman set to control things up front. Just Prince Ron Mons with you, DJ Lion producing tonight using cameras provided by Whiplash Simcams. As we get set for the restart, the temperatures on the racetrack look like this. 113 at the moment is track temp. Still 85 is the air temperature. So still potential management needed for those engines. But so far, we've seen a mixture of things. We've seen a couple cautions run, and we've seen some fuel mileage racing already. Ron.
Yep, my apologies about that. Have my mic muted. All good there. But we started off this race with the first 20 laps interrupted by 2 yellows. Then we got this race back underway and finished at the stage with some green flag pit stops and some green flag running all the way to the end of stage 1. That to get stage 2 up and rolling here in a couple of moments' time here on lap 64 coming to 65.
Green flag is out. Back underway. Gamma racing to lap 120 in this stage. Then it's going to be a sprint to the end with how things look today. Good timing from the pink machine as Vroom Vroom works with Hoytsma and Heitman at the bottom. The top did not go. Let's take a listen to the sights and sounds from Talladega. Looking at some of the drivers as they get single filed at the front of the field. Right now, Seminario is dropping like a lead balloon. He's followed all the way to the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, Seminario, not sure what's going on with the driver of the number 56 car. We saw right before we got that restart kind of beat him banging under yellow. So I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of damage on the front end of that race car, causing that 56 machine to be very slow on the outside line. I have a feeling that you can see a bit of discontent with the 14 right behind. The bumping is getting rather aggressive, heading off through 1 and 2. That 56 car seems to be a bit of a choke point here in this pack.
Now, right now, trying to fight hard to keep up with the top 5, 6 or so. Pulled off and away. Good run so far from Esnard. He leaves the outside line now with Kevin Zosiak all over his bumper. And we've seen flashes of brilliance from the 73 this season when he's able to think. He's able to put some good work to keep on improving.
As you can see, this pack is starting to get a bit too dicey for my liking. You can see those drivers weaving all around the track like madmen, and they get turned.
That's Zosiak in front of the field. No caution. Now it's out. We are under yellow. Brickley spins. Kevin Zosiak is still wrecking. Hunter involved. And a few others are slipping and sliding down the banking. So we're under yellow once again here from Dega.
They were just dancing around this racetrack way too much for my liking, JP. And right as I said it, getting turned at the front of the pack, we're going to take a look at a replay to see this drama. You can see multiple drivers getting stacked up in all this. The 48 following his perspective and all this, getting hit about 4 or 5 times in that collision alone. No, nearly made it 6 there. That was very close, but still getting a lot of cars involved in that incident. They were just sliding around way too much. That was the aggression that you'd see towards the end of this race. Not for a battle, just barely inside the top 10. That was just not going to work as we see that 37 get turned.
A lot of people getting involved. The 3, the 48 Dodson, a bulldozer through it all. A lot of drivers taking some contact. No meatball flags, but that all started mid-pack. You see the onboard. And here comes the next pack.
My, oh my, that was a big one here at Talladega. It happens just barely under 70 laps into this race. We are now officially into stage 2, and very similar to what we saw in stage 1, an early yellow going to interrupt it. So gonna maybe see these drivers decide to come down pit lane. Probably not take tires, but definitely take fuel. As we take a look from the pit cam, here they come again.
These drivers ran about 7 laps, so they are trying to make sure they equalize on the strategy here. Should be some quick top-offs for everybody that just took part in this pit stop strategy. What it looks like the entire field has elected to come down and stay equal on strategy. No one trying to be different.
Yeah, everyone is staying to their own game at the present moment. If there's a track to go for some wild, off-the-wall strategies, Talladega really isn't one of them. I think there may have been a coming together a little bit farther down in the pit lane. I think I saw, so you could see the smoke getting raised by some drivers. We may have seen some drivers spin it in the pits. That would be a rather frustrating moment for those competitors if that was the case. But yeah, the point that I just raised a few moments before I got sidetracked, seeing that smoke down in the pits. Talladega, just not a racetrack where you want to go for some wild off-the-wall strategy. If there's any racetrack where it is follow the leader pit call-wise, it is Talladega.
So again, the race on pit road won by Vroom Vroom. Also up there now as a result. Delaney letting people go. Looks like Koitsma and Heitman rather is the organizational order of things here. So, getting it all sorted out here as we continue on with the pacing. Why don't we take the opportunity, if we can, to talk with somebody in the field as things go on, and as we continue on with the action, it's going to get interesting the rest of the way how things go. Why don't we talk with the driver second in the line, if we can, Lucas Hoytsma. Lucas Hoytsma quickly joining us at the broadcast booth. Lucas, how are you feeling in the car tonight?
I'm feeling good. Second behind one of the best in here right now, man. Team's doing good tonight. Everybody's still in it. It's doing really good.
How tricky has this race been tonight compared to what you were able to do last time out? Well, in fact, last night in Friday Night Lights.
This is a whole different ball game than last night. There's so much that goes into this. Fuel mileage, how much can you save, what kind of pit stop can you do. Last night it was pretty chill. You just run 3 wide for 20 minutes straight, but now it's all strategy and just how good of a pusher you are.
So overall, what's going to be the approach to the rest of the stage now that you're in good track position?
Just stay up here and make sure I don't make a mistake. That's the name of the game.
Well, once you get sorted out here for the rest of the stage, good luck on the front row for stage 2's restart here once again.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's up on the front row, should say restart in stage 2. As we'll see how his RH Motorsports machine fares out. So, had some issues apparently for some of the drivers. Llewellyn just got a penalty involving the situation with the radio. So obviously, people getting a little bit dicey on said radio, and now having to be careful with what they say on said radio.
Yeah, there's certain things that you can say to your competitors and other things that you cannot say. Some things will go over rather well. Others will go down like a lead balloon. So hopefully the other drivers will be able to keep any sort of bad things said to their competitors down to a minimum. But hey, in the heat of the moment, stuff's going to come out of these drivers' mouths that they'll probably come to regret in later events. Trust me, I've been there and done that. So hey, we all have our moments, heat of competition, getting involved in the battle, and despite the fact that we aren't even at the halfway mark of this race, I have a pretty strong feeling that the tension will continue to build here tonight.
Of note, Tommy Gossett just parked it. So something's going on with Gossett's machine that's now seen him out of the race. He had been running pretty solid before he went to the back on the top off. Now we'll do this again for a restart. 10 laps burned in the stage so far. Still about 50 to work with. Not in range to make it to the end of the stage. Outside from Vroom. Gets a good Vroom. And he moves in front of Lucas Hoitzma. The inside line, really good from the outside. They all chose the inside in front of DeCiani.
And yet again, seeing that inside line form up, a bit of a gap between those competitors. That high side trying to find any sort of way to dip down to the inside, which seems to be the competitive option. Drivers fleeing that high side in fleece. They're actually trading around a little bit. You're seeing some drivers decide, you know what, screw it, I'm jumping out of this. You see other drivers on the inside, you know what, I feel like this is my ticket to jump up the running order. The worst that can happen to me is I drop down a little bit. Let's just see what happens. That is the attitude that some of these racers are deciding to play with. The ones at the front of the field, though, they're confident, they're comfortable, they know what their race cars can do, so they're deciding to take it easy on the low line.
So far, inside line seems to be the way to the point. Those on the outside, Hoffman working with one of the Conti drivers and Eddie Rose to make up some ground here. They're all the way to the third line, in fact, trying something different, not trying to give draft to those trying to work with them.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that high side, as much as drivers keep trying to make it work, you just don't have enough drivers who are deciding, you know what, screw it, I want to risk it for the biscuit. Oh, as you can see, I'm scattering, coming out 3 and 4. There must have been a big stack up. They went like 5 wide with 2 drivers on the apron.
Yeah, Rose getting absolutely ditched and swallowed up by the pack. Jordan Pearson, new fastest lap. He charges ahead. All that side-by-side's broken up the packs again. Now that separation's built up by at least 10 car lengths as a result of that side drop force.
And let's see how important that side draft is going to be in this race here. JP, still a lot of racing action left to go on lap 74, coming to 75 of 188 laps. Roman is still in the race lead. A bit of a gap has developed, though, if we are being completely honest, between your P10 car of Williams in the number 98 and Hoffman in the number 92. Currently running in P11. Williams actually last time by in the 98 car, setting the 5th lap of the race at a 48.366 with a rather significant cushion as well. A tick under a second between 10th and 11th heading down the backstretch.
Yeah, most of the field, yet again, is electing to just chill and ride. And in the words of those on the radio, yuppie, it's a choo-choo train. Exactly what some of the people want to see, apparently, on the radio.
Yeah, now those drivers who are excited to see the choo-choo train, do they just want to make it to the checkered flag? I mean, everyone wants to make it to the checkered flag, or are you just thinking, you know what, this is my smooth ride all the way there. Don't have to worry about side-by-side and 3-wide racing all throughout to this pack. I can just start to take it easy. That may be part of the reason why these drivers are happy to see the training on the inside.
So right now, they're all working as a choo-choo train mind hive. and just all trying to make sure they stay locked up in sync. Keep in mind that several trains have lost the draft already. They're only about 30, if that, are in the main pack. Chad Center, Tyler Hunter, Stoney Benfield have lost the draft. For example, Komacheski, Kevin Zosiak, Joey Preby has lost the draft with Llewellyn, Schofield, and the lap cars. So a fair amount of drivers with the checkups have already lost the tow, and we're having more people losing the draft as well. You see that pack up the road. Tanner Marty is struggling to suck up.
And now we are seeing it break up a teeny tiny bit, as much as most of the field is united and saying, you know what, the good line is on the inside line. It is clearly not something that everyone can get down with and being in one massive pack, as we nearly saw Rose and Marty heading off through 3 and 4 come to blows. That could have ended in disaster. Rose going to back out of that, drop down to the tail end of this small little pack that we've got for him. I got the present mode. Actually, no, going to be dipping in 4th of those drivers, and actually, nope, that is 5th of those drivers. 2 cars merging within each other from my perspective there. My apologies for that, folks, but still involved in this pack nonetheless. At the front of the field, though, it is still train racing.
Did you pick up a harmonica?
That I have.
Wow. I didn't know you played the harmonica.
Oh, I don't. I have the musical skills of a giraffe.
You just know how to make the sound.
That is correct, sir.
I was going to have you play a song, but okay. If you can't, you can't.
You know, I will say, actually, there were some harmonica-related shenanigans on another show on Maconi Entertainment recently with myself and our esteemed colleague Dylan Coyle, and he can actually play the harmonica to a much higher degree than I can. I don't really have the lung capacity to be able to do anything more than a couple of notes, and frankly, if I started playing a song on the harmonica, or at least attempting to do so, I don't think anything would drive away this audience quicker.
I think you mean Dylan Cole, as the meme says.
You know, I saw that, actually. I saw the stuff being said in the Maconi Entertainment Discord server this past week, and I was like, should I go on to that? So I guess I will have to refer to as Dylan Cole from now on out, who I learned on that show, incidentally enough. Him and I both come from the city of Philadelphia. I still live here. Thankfully, for his sakes, he got out a long time ago.
Well, hey, I'm not sure what to really say about Philadelphia because I'm not from Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is a city. That it is.
Most definitely.
Right now, we still have 40 to go coming up in the stage. Taking a look at some of the other drivers as they continue on. The packs have split again as that conversation's gone. 20 cars are in the main pack. A lot more splintering in this run as some people just struggle to maintain pace in the draft.
Yeah, just trying to keep the momentum going, which is a lot easier said than done. These drivers getting to the point where they're bending the floor pans in their race cars, trying to keep the momentum rolling. There's only so much you can do. The benefits of the draft going to be few and far between for these racers who have lost some momentum. You could just see those gaps ballooning out throughout this field. And as they approach that lapped car there, look at the 73 and the 41 leading this small little train. I think they're starting to get a bit more dicey as well. And the last time I said that some drivers were getting dicey, we had a yellow. So may end up having a case of deja vu here. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, some of these drivers not looking that stable right now in this pack in terms of the lineup. Almost looking dicier than a dice machine. But outside of that, some of these drivers just riding, and more riding for the time being as time goes on in this race. Carl Dodson, by the way, has lost some time. In fact, he's lost a lap. Should be the bulldozer earlier, so they're all sorting themselves out. there's actually an active radio conversation involving the field saying, no one think about moving off the bottom is the way to phrase it right now. It seems nobody wants anybody to leave that yellow line.
So with that being said, I think the drivers are truly playing the patient game, want to get to the end stages of this stage and just the end stages of this race period. That yellow line going to be the comfort zone for these drivers. It's their safe space. They're running solidly on that inside line. Won't have to worry about it. When they get to that inside line, all their troubles just disappear.
I mean, this is a controversial topic in terms of what you do instead of this, because I know the field is playing the safety game. There's a lot of conversation how there's now 3 wide fuel saving in the real world NASCAR Cup Series, and that's seen as the alternative just so it puts on a show. What are your thoughts on the 3 wide fuel saving that the field now does in real life?
It is, I'm trying to think of the best way I could describe it. The words are really escaping me as it stands at the present moment. It's like, I could best describe it as watching a fight between 2 fleas. You know something is going on, but you can't really visualize it too much, so you're just kind of looking at it. The 3 wide fuel saving, you're not going to see a lot of overtaking going on there. You're just going to be seeing cars running in a line, albeit they're tripled up. It's not too big of a change if we are being completely honest. At least with this, if we switch to a camera angle and listen into these cars, you'll be able to get the rapid fire vroom, 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 from the entire pack buzzing by in one single line instead of just having them all three wide throughout the field. That sounds pretty awesome as well. You can't go wrong with the rumble of a NASCAR V8, but at the same time, that 3 wide fuel saving stuff is I don't know, maybe it's just me. I feel like plate racing with modern safety standards is a wild off-track excursion hanging through the trial. We're not sure who that was. It took the rally special stage line off through the infield grass. But maybe this is a rather controversial opinion. I feel like plate racing, as it is, has really overstayed its welcome in the world of NASCAR with higher safety standards. We could do something better instead of just having these drivers packed in together. It's a unique form of racing, mind you. But I don't know, to me, it's just, once you've seen one, especially with this next-gen car, you do start to notice a lot of trends that pop up race in and race out when it comes to plate action.
Oh, Billy Brickley pushed into the grass on the replay. He had taken a ride there and gets moved off the track. So Brickley obviously not going to be too happy there. That's why he's now lost the draft. He and Paul Hill, in fact, have both lost it together.
And as we are starting to see this race get heated up a little bit, we are seeing these drivers go side by side a little bit farther towards the back of the pack. You can see Bobby Anderson in the 5 car in the midst of all of that action. I think we are getting to the stage of this race where these drivers will turn up the wick a teeny tiny bit, or the reason why they are getting a bit more dicey. I don't really have a good feeling about this, if I'm being so real. The 56 and the 51 nearly coming to blows, heading off to 3 and 4.
And that side draft effect, you see it right there. Seminario did not want to give up the speed to the precision cars. Now those Precision Speed Incorporated machines seen a lot of time lost as a result of that side draft. All that passing has also seen the top 8 take off and pull away yet again as a result of some of that squabbling. And now the focus has to be get back to the leaders yet again.
get back up to them. They still have a bit of time in their back pocket. 100 laps left to go now here at Talladega Superspeedway. And for these racers, they're still eyeballing the end of this stage. I wonder how they're doing fuel-wise as well. We saw that play a huge role in stage 1. I think we're going to get a case of deja vu here in stage 2.
See. There's a lot of laps to go. That's all you can really say. At this point with these drivers, how they sort out up front here. John Williams peaking out at 195. Those in the draft at 199. No one hitting the 200-mile-an-hour mark. One thing to keep in mind here, these drivers have to make sure they manage the temperatures. You can push a fair bit since there's no grill tape on these cars, but there's only so much you can do when you basically seal off the motor block if you push too hard.
I think Tony Stewart said, oh, look at that. That is spinning from the front of that pack. That right there is the 0-5 going for a wild trip into the infield apron. That, I believe, is, will it bring a yellow out with the spin? And there it is, the yellow.
Caution flag is out. And this will allow everyone to make it on fuel. John Williams left the bottom, and no one was given any brakes. Williams trying to give a lift. He got hit by Hoffman, pushed him right into Williams's fender.
That's just some tough stuff. I want to take a look at another replay of that incident just to get a full view of it all. It's an unfortunate moment nonetheless for these drivers. Let's take a look at that. This is heading through into the tri-oval. Some pretty wild bumping as is, but that's not where it ended in tears. You can see coming out of the tri-oval down across that start-finish stripe there. Yep, there goes the 98 spinning the 0-5 off.
Around goes the 05. Indeed, as a result there. Look one more time. This is the bump that we're talking about. Boom, shaka, laka.
I will say, and this is honest, I never thought I would hear those words come out of your mouth, JP. So we're breaking new barriers. We're breaking new barriers here at Talladega. Boom, shakalaka, indeed.
So should see a pit party. We'll take a break. More racing coming up. Drivers can now make it to the end of the stage here on Maconi Entertainment on gas with these stops.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway as we get ready for the restart. We've had some swap arounds up at the front of the field. Race off the pit road went the way of Jonathan Delaney's direction here in the FLCC. And now we'll have to see if we see a lot more activity here after the caution. Roman on the inside. Then you also throw Ralph Hutchinson. How about this? He was dead last to start, has fixed all the damage, and now, first time really all race, the 8 has track position in 4th.
Talk about a fight back for that number 8 team. They have rallied after starting at the back of the field. Hutchinson now going to be on 3rd for this restart on that 2nd row. Let's see how that 8 car is going to manage this restart that we have coming up. It will be a bit of a dash to the checkered flag in this 2nd stage. Will we have another yellow break it out? Only time will tell. One thing I do know for sure though, JP, is that these drivers are probably going to turn up the wick. Will we end up seeing them hold on to that inside line though? Is a real question that I have. They kind of had a bit of a truce in that regard before that latest yellow came out, but now that we have a restart, I wonder if that truce has been broken a bit. Will we see these drivers actually risk it?
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's gonna be fun. So we'll have to see what they do here. It's 2 colleagues up at the top working together here. It's RH Motorsports controlling things on the outside line. On the inside line as well, Lucas Hoitzma is going to make it 3 out of the top 4. RHM 4 out of the top 5. All driving for Ralph Hutchinson as an organization. Green flag is out. And the outside line gets a better run. The 6 runs away. Delaney looking to clear, does, as Hutchinson goes back in line.
Slipping back in tow, that number 8 car running the smart line as much as it may not be. Here comes the number 8 jumping up to the front of the field, still running in 3rd, holding on to that preferred inside line. That outside line though is a lot of representation, lots of cars there. May end up seeing someone decide to play scrub. There we go, that's a 56 jumping to the inside line. Let's see if anyone's going to join that outside train or whether we will see the high side stall out once again.
Now we'll have to see if we start seeing that raciness that we're hoping to see here in stage number 2. Hoffman going way far back, not getting much help. DeCiani nearly turns him around, in fact, in the Fortis car. And now they are having a hard time even squaring up properly with the pushes.
Yeah, and once we get a bit of bumper unalignment, start to see these drivers go for riskier and riskier bumps, that's going to be when someone gets spun out. I have a feeling that we will see someone get turned with the amount of crazy bumping we have going on. These drivers are clearly showing a bit of impatience. We've had a clean race up to this point. Couple of incidents here and there, but these drivers are really turning up the wick here on lap 95, coming to 96 this time by, rapidly approaching upon lap 100, and not terribly far away from the end of the 2nd stage either. These drivers turning up that wick a bit, getting a bit more impatient as the yellows back out.
Caution flags back out here at Talladega. Got a little bit too active. Joey Freebie has already slowed down. It was involving drivers in the 30s. One of the Dirty South cars also involved Neil Pearson. Took some hard hits with Larry McDonald. Let's take a look what happened. It was in turn 3 and 4.
As we take a look, that's the aftermath of the 62. Oh, that was a huge hit, gang. Hit on multiple occasions. The 62 taking a pummeling, coming out of 3 and 4. Something had happened before then because they were already in the barrier and wildly out of control. Oh, it's the 46. That was a big cutback, and that just wasn't going to work at all. Eddie Rose in the number 46 machine causing that huge collision with the 62. That's probably going to do it for the night for the 62. That was a hellacious collision.
Now look on board here. I believe there was a lane change made that caused that quick reaction in the middle of the corner. Watch the car outside. You see the gap build up, and then right here, door slams, hits him, check up into the wall.
And I'm going to be honest, from my perspective, you can take this however you want. I think that was definitely misjudged from Eddie Rose. As much as he had that window, there comes a certain point where it's probably better off just to say, you know what, I'm going to take the loss. Yeah, that, I don't know why, I don't think that could have worked in a million years. You can see the more checking up these drivers having to pick their way through the smoke, and oh my god, that was a huge hit with the 62 again, hit yet again after that already hard impact into the outside wall.
So again, under caution here at Talladega. Laney in front as we continue on what's going to be a lengthy one in terms of the lap distance, the way things are shaping up. Of course, he's 180 laps. Let's take the opportunity to speak with somebody. We've already spoken with somebody from Orange Motorsports. Let's try and change things up a little bit if we can. The tough thing is, a bunch of the front runners are from the same organization for the time being. Someone that is on their own tonight that we've seen up and down the running order here. Why don't we talk with Clayton Hoffman, see how he's faring out. No teammates interested enough here tonight. Altus Esports is Clayton Hoffman. On your own tonight, Clayton, what's the strategy been like on your lonesome?
I'd say it's just been just figure out who's moving forward and try to move with them. Apparently just found out that some update hurt my car, so I really suck at leading, but I'm pretty fine pushing, so kind of limited.
Explain the update you're talking about. Your regards to your update to the build in terms of the setups, you mean, or something else?
Yeah, probably some update that changed something with the super speedways, because I'm running a set from 2023, and yeah, I haven't touched it since then because it worked fine last year.
Yeah, 2023 is a fair bit out in terms of the setup. I know the win a couple weeks ago, 2024 works. 2023 is a bit different, but what's your approach now going to be now knowing you do have that as a disadvantage to you?
There's probably going to be a bunch of fuel saving. We're going to run this race out to the end of the stage, and then it goes back to fuel saving. So, I mean, I got some friends I think that were trying to help me, but they didn't know, and I didn't know that my car doesn't work out in front. So now I know. So I just got to find somebody and just push them.
Well, good luck the rest of the way here, Clayton, for this restart.
Thank you.
And Hoffman, no our teammates here tonight. That's unfortunate here, Ron. And that's the reason you need to be on top of things as a team on setups. Anything build-wise, it might not even be in the notes that there might be an adjustment to your car, and then you find out like you do now.
And you know, with how complicated the code is that goes into a service like iRacing, you're going to find yourself in a situation where the devs may not even have made an intentional change. It could have just been 1 or 2 lines of code taken out that completely changed that way, the way that your car drives. It is so fickle of a thing. at the end of a day. Tough to manage if you're an iRacing competitor, doubly so if you're running for a team pretty much all by your lonesome. Basically, you have to make those discoveries on your own. So it's a tough thing to manage here on iRacing, and whether it be in the realm of NASCAR racing, whether it be in the realm of, let's just say, GT3 racing, where you have BOP and stuff of the sorts, you will see that rear its ugly head. It's an unfortunate thing nonetheless, but hey, it's just part of the game here on iRacing. You'll have that stuff happen from time to time. Doesn't make it any less frustrating when stuff like that doesn't come at your way, but it is what it is at the end of the day. You just have to suck it up at the end. It's a bad thing to say. I don't envy the position that these drivers find themselves in if their car is not reaching their standards, but at the same time, there's only so much you can do.
Let's do this again. Coming up towards the later stages of stage 2. Back underway. Delaney in front. He now moves to the bottom of the racetrack in front of Vroom Vroom. Looks like the outside stayed a bit more structured to start at least.
Yeah, but a bit of a structure as it stands presently. Let's see if that will remain as we go down the back straightaway for the first time after this latest restart. Is that outside line finally going to have the speed? Now that these drivers won't have to worry about fuel at all, I think they may decide to risk it a bit more on lap 99, coming to 100 this time by. And we saw some major shuffling heading down that back straightaway. Hoytsma, Kritz, and Hodgson all jumping down to the inside. Delaney was at the front of that pack, and it's now Seminaro in the number 56 machine who's leading that outside line. Let's see if that outside line will still have the pace heading off to the tri-oval.
To the front, Conti. The Conti machines making some moves now. Oh, some wiggles there after a bad push in the corner. Dylan Kritz having a bit of a moment. And now some different players coming in front. It's Paul Hill who now leads it. As a lot of people go outside. First time in a while we've seen the outside line get numbers.
Yeah, first time really ever since the drop of the green flag some 100 plus laps ago that we are seeing these racers decide, you know what, the outside line is a spot to be in. I'm going to abandon the inside and switch to the high side. We're seeing some holdouts still at the front of the field. The 12 car is no longer one of them pulling up, and that is going to close up that gap. Was a bit of a gap between Heitman in the 76 and the number 83 of Adam Benefield. Now with the 12 car of Hodgson involved in all of that, it has closed up that pack then some. So those drivers on that inside line, that opportunity to switch to that high side has now gone away. But I wonder how this high side is looking. I think that inside's starting to gain some momentum again.
Right now, Heitman getting the edge bottom. Less than 20 to go now in the stage. And now it's the matter of, do we see a third line break out to make things even more interesting? Right now, these drivers electing to work hard to try and get to the point. Hill leads at the stripe.
And Hill in that number 26 machine staking his claim on this race lead for now. Let's see how long it is going to stay. Not terribly long from the end of the second stage. Rapidly approaching upon the final stages of this race as well. Over 100 laps on the board now. This race is starting to fly by. And speaking of flying, here's the number 83 of Benefield with a lot of momentum on the high side. Got to jump up to the race lead.
Absolutely shuffled out there is Hill. Pack swallows him up as Hoffman takes a poke to the outside. We heard his issues with the car. Now they try and resettle out. Ryan S. Jones doing a solid job now. Is now leading the outside groove. We haven't talked much about the DPR machine tonight. Now is looking to cut ahead in this field with a lot of work for Mesnard all over his bumper.
And as we are seeing these bumps get even more sketchy, I mentioned earlier on talking about the patience that will run thin with these drivers, regardless of whether you have a green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow cycle heavy race, or you just find yourself in a race that is running green, running smooth. You will eventually reach that point. After being in a car for coming up to 2 hours now, as these drivers have been, you will reach that point where you start to throw caution to the wind. You get a bit too confident and a bit too comfortable in your race car, and you go for some pushes and moves that really should not be attempted, but just because you have that confidence means that you are going to go for it. As important as confidence can be, it can also be a massive detriment, especially in a race like this, where even the race winners at the end of the day will say that there was never a single point where they felt completely comfortable out there.
Oh, that's a dangerous push there. Mesnar nearly got into the back end of Jones on the offset. Nearly turned him around. But the tough thing about this was about to say here, oh, caution! Caution flag is out. We're back under yellow. It's in turn 4. Brandon Hastings in the wall. Andrew Dyson's in the grass. Curious what happened here, as this was at the back of the line.
You can see the 41 running third of this small little pack. That's coming onto the back straightaway out of 1 and 2. Got the 81 right in tow. I wonder, yeah, it's a little bit of squirreliness. Yeah, there you can see the 81 getting hit by the 41, and big drama heading off into there. More cars getting a piece of that action.
Look one more time here. Yeah, that was offset, and that's going to spark that every time.
And we talked about those misaligned bumpers. It was definitely prevalent in the Xfinity race for the Friday Night Lights series yesterday evening. But here in the Cup cars, it's not a bed of roses either. As much as those bumpers may be a bit more compatible, there's only so much you can do. You know, Legos, they're meant to be put together with precision, and they're meant to be held together strong. If you attach one Lego and another Lego to 2 Saturn V rockets and hurtle them at each other going about Mach 5 each, it's not going to go well. So when you see these drivers bumping and swirling all around this racetrack at a steady click of 190 miles an hour, it's not going to be a recipe for success, as I think I may have just thrown our producer DJ Line for an absolute loop there.
So a lot of people coming down for pit stops. The Conti machines, some of them at least, staying out on the track though. So some people are indeed trying to keep the track position for the stage points. Many others just trying to top off and save some time later on, it looks like, in the pit cycle. Less than 15 to go in the stage here, wrong.
Yeah, this is a money stop for these competitors. I gotta wonder though, as we are at this point in this race, how are these pit stops going to set them up for the run to the checkered? Not even the run to the end of the stage, the run to the end of this race, point blank period. I talked about this earlier on in reference to the playoff situation. Now, just about everyone who's locked themselves in has only one win. With the amount of drivers who have had one win and one win alone up to this point, that trend will probably continue as we continue this season on. So for these competitors, you want to grab that checkered flag, because I feel like wins are going to matter more than points at the end of the day. So I think these drivers, as much as they are eyeballing a good spot to be in at the end of the second stage, they also want to be in strong contention at the end of this race altogether. So perhaps with this run through the pits, trying to set themselves up as well as they can for the very end.
So to get resorted here, Adam Benefiel up at the front of the field for the time being. Things are going here. Bobby Anderson in second. Why don't we take the opportunity, if we can, speak with that race leader. Adam Benefiel now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Adam, how are you feeling in the car tonight?
Oh, yeah, we're feeling sporty here.
What's the approach been for you and the rest of Team Conti with how you have plotted things out so far?
Well, so far the plots have not went to plan, so we finally just threw the plots out the window, said screw it, put them on the dash, and you know, just started letting her eat, and we got up here to the front, and kind of where I want to try to stay. I know I got to thank Broman. Me and him hooked up and got one monster run down the back straightaway, and was able to get the lead. So put that in the memory bank. Me and Broman link up pretty well, a lot better than I do with others. So hopefully we can make something happen here at the end.
Was about to say here, what's going to be that plan now with stage 3, knowing it's about even on the stages here, and we've seen a lot of single file racing on the conga lining.
Yeah, that was the big reason why we decided to just go for it. It seems like guys want to race now, and all the other team cars pitted and right there, so I wanted to stay out, try to get stage points in case I die later on, just try to walk away with something. Me and super speedway racing don't mix very well together, but home track here, I'm about 10 minutes down the road from it in real life, so hopefully we can make something happen.
Good luck the rest of the way here, Adam.
Thank you.
Battlefield currently getting set to restart as the control car. Bobby Anderson alongside. Then you have Hudson and Mesnard, followed in the order by Hunter and Brickley. Komacheski and Benfield. Rounding out the drivers up front, Marty and Ryan. You have to go a bit back for the pit stop sequence, all the way to 11th, where Lucas Hoytsma is first of those who topped off on gas on that run. Some drivers 16 laps into their stints at the moment, the way things are shaping up for the restart. But we're coming up to what will be about a 13 lap dash run for stage 2 points.
And this is going to be 15 laps of pure unbridled pandemonium. These drivers still looking for the bragging rights of having a stage win and just getting the first 120 laps of this race done and dusted with. Focus on those final 68 and have a heck of a lot of momentum heading off into them.
It's ready to go. Green flag is out. Back underway. And already Benefield, moving up Benefield, getting a good launch from the point. Hodgson goes to the gears and goes to the bumper. Now we'll see what the outside does. Bobby Anderson trying to move things up on the outside. 3 wide as Vroom Vroom works with Derek Heitman.
And you can see those drivers dip out of line, hang down that back straightaway a couple of moments ago. That could have ended in tears. They nearly drifted themselves up into the wall when that happened. We are starting to see a bit of a highline schism, so to speak. We're seeing these drivers think, okay, do I want to go with this driver? No, I want to go with this one. They're changing their mind a lot. They don't really know how to make that high side work, as that's a bumper.
Oh, whoa, whoa!
Holy cow!
Anderson lost the bumper and now gets turned around. It's contact in the heart of the field. Anderson, Mesnard, more drivers getting collected in. Pearson, we're under yellow as Pearson doors Mesnard.
And that was the most bizarre collision I've ever seen. I thought that was a graphical error at first, but no, the bumper flying up into the air had to have spooked some of those drivers, and that could be part of the reason why that collision happened shortly thereafter. Let's take a look at a replay to see this moment, JP. This was absolutely bizarre. The 5 getting the bump from the 73 off into the corner, and then the bumper just disappears.
Yeah, that really sparked things off there. What a sequence, as that ends up destroying a couple cars in the process. Bobby Anderson and Evan Mesnard are absolutely total.
And we're going to take a look at another replay of this. It was rather hectic on this restart, but then things just cranked up to such a high degree as soon as that bumper started to fly. That's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my entire time doing oval broadcasting. And bang, there it goes. The rear bumper just assigned to go on strike. I made the analogy earlier on talking about Legos. The rear bumper of the race car, though, popping off like a misshapen Lego. That was Anderson's rear bumper, just deciding to say, nope, I'm done with Talladega, and just flying off into the distance. That was so unbelievably strange. It's going to bring the yellow back out, going to give us an even more hectic scramble to the checkered flag of this stage.
Yeah, you can see just pushing, then a bit off center, and peels off the bumper essentially in the live action right there. That causes chaos as that discombobulates Mesnard after the flying bumper.
And lots of good race cars getting torn up in all this. You can see the 14 got a piece of that action. The 73 car with a significant amount of damage. These drivers, I wouldn't say they've been dropping like flies. We still have a vast majority of the racers still running in this event, but we do have to worry about the fact there are no faster pairs. We have a 17x limit for these drivers to get disqualified, so we may find ourselves in a situation not terribly far from now where we start to see some drivers hit that limit and get yoinked out of this race.
Sequence once again in that one as all drivers involved in the incident coming down from pit road. Less than 10 laps to go now in this stage. Owen Hodgson currently holding on to second spot. We'll see how Nolan's doing. Why don't we on the radio? As we continue to build up the momentum for the race. Finish for stage 2. Nolan Hodgson now joins us at the broadcast booth. Nolan, how are you riding along in that car right now?
I mean, I'm really enjoying it, honestly. I've been having fun just kind of making my way through the field. There was a point at the beginning of stage 2, I think, that I was shuffled to the back, and here I am, P2. So really good race car this week, and hope to keep it going here.
How tricky has it been about trying to make sure you not only manage the gas but also get yourself in a good position race-wise all throughout the strategy, because we've seen a lot of single file racing, but you've been amongst those keeping to the front much of the time?
Yeah, this package is really difficult. You really want to be able to stick with the people in front of you. There was a time earlier in stage 2 that the top 2 packs were separated, and you know, it's really easy to lose a draft, so you just got to make sure that you're in a position to where you can keep the draft, and hopefully it all falls into place.
What's your approach going to be now as you look to try and see if you can sweep the first 2 stages here, especially since it looks like Benefield is going to choose the outside?
Honestly, it's to survive. The first real play race of the year, the 500, I didn't make it past stage 1, and I made it a lot farther this time, so I think if, you know, kind of like Atlanta was, where I happened to win there, if I can keep it clean towards the end and, you know, stay in the top group at the end of the race, I should have a good chance.
Good luck the rest of the way here, Nolan.
Thank you.
Going on to getting ready for the restart. He has been working on the radio with Stoney Benfield throughout this race. So now they get ready to go again. So it's Benefield, it's Hodgson, it's going to be Hunter. Kolbacheski is driven up to 4th. You have Joan Seminario still up there. Tanner Marty's maintained track position. Also up there, Billy Berkeley and Lucas Hoitzma on the pit strategy. Is up there too in 8th. Paul Hill and Ryan S. Jones right at the top 10. Mind you, Jones took door-to-door contact from the situation. We'll see if that car lasts up front here. Going to be 8 laps to go in the stage we're on to settle things out for stage 2.
And as we get to the end of this stage, I know I keep marching to the beat of this drum, but that number 97 of Lucas Hoitzma had a chance to have a chat with him earlier on in this broadcast. He won that Xfinity Series race last night and won the last round of this championship at Bristol. Of course, comparing Bristol and Talladega is really like comparing bowling and curling because they involve throwing some sort of heavy object down a sheet of some kind of material. No real comparisons between the two, but one thing remains the same. Lucas Hoytsma, a very fast driver, gonna be up towards the front, albeit on that outside line on this restart. Come to green this time by, it will be a heads-up brawl all the way to the end.
Getting set to go. Pace car already off. Green flag is out. We're back underway. And this time, Benefield getting a great launch. Team Watson machine of Kopacheski getting a great launch also to jump in front of the 12. And here comes the Conti machine trying to move down the top three, having a close call with the 12.
And very, very close quarter stuff. These drivers, as I've been saying for the past, it probably feels like 50 laps up to this point. This stage has seen these drivers and their patience snap. They've been rather tame up to this point, but ever since, I would say probably about lap 75, something snapped with these racers. They want to force this issue even more. They are tired of waiting around. They want to force this issue at the end of the second stage, hit the ground running as we enter the final end of this event. But look at the number 97 of Hoytsma. He has a lot of momentum on that high side, leading that top lane, and he's got to take the lead.
Lucas Hoytsma to the point. As Paul Hill, he was freight trained out of the way a while ago, goes to the front himself. Look who's up there too. It's John Williams, who is on the inside. His way up towards the front once again. Coming up now to 6 laps to go in the stage. Oh, they're getting a little bit too pushy. Williams goes for the lead.
And let's see how this gonna work out for the 05 of Williams. He got spun coming out of the tri-oval not terribly long ago, but has made his way back up to the front, leading, heading down into the tri-oval with Hill on the outside. Those two cars have been involved in their own fair share of drama thus far in this race, but shows you that here at Talladega, you may be down, but you're never really going to be out. Wait until the fat lady sings. Insert phraseology here. 115 laps on the board of 188 laps in this race. We're getting to the end of this stage. This is absolute crunch time. These drivers are still dicing around, weaving all around the racetrack, trying to figure out what line's going to work. That's Hodgson jumping up and another bumper flying.
Oh my goodness, these bumpers are absolutely blistering around all of a sudden. Didn't see exactly who that bumper was off of, but now they continue to shuffle the lines. Coming around, 5 laps to go at the stripe. Here comes Heitman.
Yeah, and Heitman in that 76 car going to be jumping up to the front of the field. Got Jim Shoefield right behind. Shoefield was a very intense driver to keep eyes on last night in the Xfinity race. Currently running strong at the moment. P2 of these racers. It's drivers up towards the front of the field that we haven't really talked about at all throughout this race, JP, but they're proving that they are in it to win it, in it to win this stage, and they're flexing their muscles.
Here's the look at Vrooman as he tries to get a push on the outside line. Trying to get some momentum built up for some stage points here. And we're on to 4 to go. Move up by Benefield to work now with Eddie Rose. Right now, a lot of different people squabbling and shuffling to the front. Not one driver staying stable as they make some lane changes up front. Here we go again on a hard checkup on the outside line. Huge checkup as you know who's up there on that outside? Gregory Robinson, who has for much of the race been a lap down.
Yeah, that three-car back on the holy cow, that could have ended in disaster. Hang down that back straightaway off into 3 and 4. Robinson proving yet again that you can never be out of these races here at Talladega. This, I don't have a good feeling about, JP. I'm going to be completely honest. This is an intense battle, probably the most intense we've had ever since the drop of the green flag some 2 hours ago.
Here we go.
These drivers getting dicey, and there's a big one.
Oh, some bobbling to the bottom of the track. We stay green. As, my goodness, the pack just imploded again.
How in the world did they keep that race green? As soon as I saw them spinning to the inside, I was like, alrighty, here we go. This is going to be the huge one, hang through the tri-oval. They kept it clean. Granted, some drivers probably don't have some clean pants after that, but if you had a moment like this at 190 miles an hour, would you have clean pants either? Probably not. Let's take a look at it.
Bit of an eventful moment once again. But we're coming close towards the end of the run. Coming up to 2 to go. Coming up, here's a look one more time.
And let's see this moment. Multiple drivers getting involved in all of that. This, I believe, is actually the live action. You can see 2x2 at the front of the field between Hunter, Vroman, Jones, and Heitman, all covered by just about nothing. Only a couple laps left to go in this stage, JP, and it is still not over. These drivers at the front of the field, as much as they're proving that they're racy, they've proved ever since they dropped the green flag that they have some very quick race cars. Benefield, the number 83 car, he nearly won Dash for Cash last night in the Xfinity race. He's quick, but here comes Roman on the inside.
Roman trying to get the boost. Coming up towards 1 to go on the stage. Can he get himself a stage win? Hunter leads the outside line with the help of Benefield. Still side by side for the race lead. As they come up to 1 to go in the stage. Who gets the edge at the stripe? That's the big question. Here they go. Benefield staying on the bump of the 48. He gets doored by Jones. Heitman spins around Benefield. They spin around as the caution yet to come out. Now is out in this stage.
And I think the number 48 car, as it is a huge one, heading off through 1 and 2. I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, the 48 of Tyler Hunter was your winner of this stage. He was in front at the time of caution. We'll get further confirmation as we take a look at this replay. Banging doors, banging wheels, the 48 and the 11 coming up blows, and in the stack up, that created the big one down into 1.
Vroom having to take some excursions there. Let's take another look here. That started after a lot of door banging for the race lead. Coming around at the start and finish line. How'd that even start? Well, here is how. Out of the tri-oval. Little push. They start getting hooked up. And then they check up and squabble.
I gotta say, Roman having that wild trip through the grass. He kept it going in a straight line. Not entirely sure how, but with that hop, skip, and a jump through that dirt on the inside, was able to keep it going and still running in a pretty good spot at the end of the second stage. We'll actually take a look at another replay of this and follow Roman's perspective in the midst of that drama. You can see that's where it all really started. The 48 and the 11 getting a piece of that, and Roman getting a small little tap and a small little nudge, having to take evasive action and taking that quick trip through the grass. Very lucky that these next-gen cars aren't as susceptible to those splitter dig-ins, because I will say, if anyone tried to do that in real life, it probably wouldn't end well either, but if that was in the Gen 6, we may have seen a front bumper get completely turned into dust.
So again, it's Ryan S. Jones who wins the stage. Tyler Hunter second. Benfield, Kovacheski, Murray, Schofield, Rose, Vroman, Hoytsma, and Paul Hill with the top 10 as they now come down for pit road, it looks like. This time by for some service.
And now that we are officially into this final stage, I wonder if we are going to see these competitors enjoy the fruits of their labor in terms of the pit stops that we saw towards the end of stage 2 and set themselves up as best as possible for the end of this race. At the same time, though, I feel like it'd be rather stupid to gun for that lap 188 to be the end of this race, considering the drama we've seen up to this point. The chances of us having a green-white checkered are far from zero.
Take a break. Restart coming up. Still plenty of laps to go. You're watching Maconi Entertainment.
When When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's action. The FLCC continues from Talladega Superspeedway. So we are now in the 3rd stage of the action. Getting ready to start lap 124 as we make a sprint to the checker flag from here. Still a long way to go, Ron. What are your predictions for stage 3?
Well, I am expecting, based off what we saw in Stage 2 and in the early stages of Stage 1 for this race, to continue to get broken up with yellow flag periods. With that, though, I wonder if the fuel strategy that we have thought was going to be huge in this race maybe going to take a back foot. Instead, these drivers just hoping to make it to the checkered flag to finish first. First, you have to finish, and here at Talladega, that saying has never been truer.
Green flag is out. Back underway. Good start for Ryan Jones over Tyler Hunter on the front row. And now they try and make that excursion out at the front of the field. Do we see calm racing or do we see intense racing? That is going to be the question. It's an intense start for the outside line at least.
And we're still seeing these drivers dance around this racetrack with every single bump draft that they try and give. The real window that we're looking for is the first 5 to 7 laps after this restart. If we get out of those and these drivers start to single file out, we're probably going to have a rather lengthy green flag run. Potentially even with some green flag pit stops for the first time since stage 1. If we have another yellow in that 5 to 7 lap window, we're still going to be in that green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow cycle that's really infected this race for the past, I would say at this point, probably past 45 laps up to this point. It started rather early on into stage 2, and we have yet to fully break out of that cycle yet. Keyword being yet. I don't know why. I have a feeling that these drivers may be able to heed the warning of the drama that we've seen over Stage 2 and carry those warnings off into Stage 3.
See right now the inside line getting all sorted 2 by 2 for much of this field. Keep in mind, we are down to just 28 cars running as we progress. We've lost a lot of cars as of late from some of these incidents.
And I think I raised this earlier on, JP, talking about some of the other retirements that we may have from this race. 17 incident points is the limit for these drivers, and to anyone new to iRacing, you can pick up 4 incident points just in the span of one collision with one of your competitors. We may end up seeing some drivers get hit with a disqualification in this race. There's no warning. Once you hit that 17X, you are done for. So I wonder if most of the retirements we're going to have at the end of this race are going to be down to incidents or down to incident points.
And that's a good point. 63 to go. Just had a DQ of note. Llewellyn did reach that 17 incident point limit. So he did reach the disqualification limit in his regard. So some people have reached that limit in this one. Side by side for the race lead still. As they continue to cycle like a bicycle. Right now, just churning up front. That's the main thing you have to keep in mind as these drivers really want to race now.
And they are still feeling oh so racy. They haven't given up. They are still battling as if it's a final lap of the race, and they have been doing that for the past 45 laps up to this point. It has been beautiful to watch. For these drivers, it has been rather stressful out there on the racetrack, JP. As we approach 61 laps left to go, we are starting to see that outside line stall out a teeny tiny bit. We may be approaching the end of that 5 to 7 lap window here soon. We may settle into a groove.
See. Curious how the team conversations are looking like right now. How things are shaking up right in this field. Looking like the packs are split up in 2 as well. The top 14 have broken away.
And yet again, seeing a big gap develop in this race. You usually think, okay, it's Talladega, not going to be able to see that. No, we have seen a lot of drivers begin to break away all throughout this race. I remember in the very early stages, we ended up seeing the top 5 break away, and it was about 1.2 seconds between 5th and 6th. Of course, this was very, very early on into this race, but we are starting to see these drivers be able to break away from each other. Some losing out some momentum, maybe a little bit of damage on that on those race cars as well. No fast repairs allotted to these competitors, so any sort of repairs that have to be done on these race cars got to be done on raw time and raw time alone, which is not the winning strategy at all. So these drivers probably running with some aero tweaks, dragging parachutes down these straightaways. That's part of the reason why we're so susceptible to having these breakups.
Now, we've seen it all throughout the night, how easy it is to lose the draft. It was touched upon by Nolan Hodgson earlier on also. They continue to try and ride forward. Dustin Hall is leading that second pack. Last time by, the lap times were in the 49.3s. The leaders, they're running 49 flats at the head of the pack as things stand right now. So they need a lot more if they want a chance here, because everybody is back to single file now. Now they're calming things down after all the battling earlier on. And mind you, you have a lot more energy dispersal when you're side by side compared to single file. So it is, for a lot of these drivers, this is going to be the peak of what they can do.
Yeah, they will reach the point where they have to back out of this side-by-side racing. It's a trading card tower, I think is the best way I can describe it. You will eventually see it start to crumble. A small little gust of wind blown these drivers' way, and all of that foundation can come crumbling down. It's a tough race to try and manage. I've described races here at Talladega and just played racing, period, as being... trying to remember the phrase that I used to describe it, but it was a pretty good phrase. It'll pop back into my head eventually. It's on the tip of my tongue at the present moment. Here we go. It's like juggling chainsaws. Really, if you make one wrong move, you're done for. If you run it strong, you're still going to be terrified, even if you don't make a mistake.
Yes. So from Alonso to have led a lot of laps here tonight. Nicholas Roman has done a stellar job, you could argue, Ron, in terms of his pace, and it's not a surprise knowing his repertoire as a driver. That car is bad fast.
Yeah, that car is very quick at the north end of the field. Has spent a decent amount of this race with that very eye-catching number 95 leading it. He's been the Pied Piper from the drop of the green flag all the way through to this point in the race that we find ourselves in at the moment right now. 57 coming to 56 laps left to go in this race. I'm still going to keep my eyes on the 6 of Delaney. Delaney has been quick ever since the drop of the green flag, has been running up towards the front of this pack as well. That 6 car has been a consistent force, looking through really the entirety of the top 3, have good shots to do it. Froman, we just talked about him, very quick. Delaney, we just talked about him, very quick. Hoytsma, talked about him a lot in the number 97 car, won yesterday in the Xfinity race, and here in the Cup car, that 97 Sonny D machine has been running strong throughout it as well. Those front 3 all have very good shots to get it done.
Plenty of opportunities, yes, absolutely. A lot of shots to get it done. We see these drivers line up the pack. Good race for Cam Stone. Now the Stones are watching along with him. He's been close a few times to break through into victory lane. Seems like he's amongst the drivers in that Conti camp that have thrown things up on the win and said, I'm just going to ride up front, like we were hearing from Benefield earlier.
Still a lot of stuff left to contend with at the end of this race. We also have to think about fuel as well, JP. It's been a consistent factor throughout this race, and now that we are settling into a groove, may have the distinct possibility of some more green flag stops. We remember, harkening our minds back to that opening, the only round of green flag stops we've had at this point at the end stage of stage number 1. We saw a bit of a collision heading down into the pits, and something like that can really mess up the complexion of the drivers running at the north end of the field as well. There's so much that is in control of these drivers, and so much that's out of it as well. That's part of the reason why super speedway racing, some of the most compelling stuff you can watch, and some of the most terrifying stuff you can compete in.
Yes, indeed. Looking on board with Murray. And it looks like Murray just trying as he might work with Dustin Hall. That is not working. In fact, probably is going to continue not gaining at all right now. Last time by, they were up to 8/10 slower than the field, and just the tough thing about the setup. If you don't have the setup just right, if you don't have the car perfect, if you don't have the right drafting partners, it's so difficult to move ahead, and all the pushing can only do so much in the world when you have the car as the limit.
And you brought up a good point there, JP, talking about how in a plate race, to be able to do well, you need to have the right sparring partner. You can have a quick race car all you want, but if you don't have that person that's alongside you, going to either be the pusher or have you be the pusher to them, you're not going to find yourself in a very good spot. Super speedway racing, as much as it may be a ruthless game where we're going to see these drivers switch on each other and play their own game, you will see these temporary truces of drivers pairing up together and just being like, hey, we need to do this to be able to do well in this event. It reminds me of the tandem draft era of the NASCAR Cup Series back in the early 2010s when the drivers could actually speak to each other on radio, which that created some very interesting moments in its own regard, but kind of see the same effect going on here. We can have a mix of the two. You get that old Gen 6 style pack racing, and you've also got a bit of tandem racing that you saw from the COT as well.
Right now, continuing to just cruise along, still more than 50 laps to go. 51 to be precise on that total as we turn laps at the moment. And how do you keep yourself entertained when you're in these choo-choo trains? I'm just curious on that, how you would do in these races. Are you just driving along? Are you listening to music? Are you chitter-chattering? What would your approach be?
That is a very good question. I would say for some of these drivers, if they have some professional obligations outside of these events, maybe checking your email could be a good strategy. Checking your text messages as well. I don't know, browsing a little bit of Twitter or Instagram or something like that. And we do have some people who tune into these broadcasts here on Maconi Entertainment on the other Maconi Entertainment Twitter account, or X or whatever the hell they call it nowadays. Not really too sure what the correct technical term is, but maybe a little bit of cell phone time. I think my usual evening of entertainment in the form of filling out a word search book and listening to jazz music, probably not best done at 190 miles an hour. But again, I'm a very boring individual, and these drivers looking for that speed itch. So who knows? Maybe they're competing in two events at the same time. That, or potentially, what's the old hill climb racer game that everyone had on their phone, where you just drive around and rack up all the points and everything. I feel like I'm doing this game a terrible service trying to describe it, but if anyone ever looks up Hill Climb Racer phone game, you'll probably be able to find it very easily. Maybe doing a little bit of that as they're running around this racetrack here at Talladega at a steady clip of 195.
I mean, some people do different ways, different things. Especially since when you're thinking about things, they still have plenty of time to go until they have pit stops. Those pit stops could really shake up how this pack fares out compared to some of the others. So keep in mind, there is not really any fuel saving going on. They are going exits of 199 miles an hour. Some of these drivers in the pack, they are not in the game of saving fuel with how things are going here. And that's going to be the tough thing over this course of the race. It's going to be, can you make sure you're on the right strategy with the rest of your competitors? Vroman, with him leading the laps here, is going to be burning a lot more fuel compared to some of the others.
Yeah, getting absolutely terrible fuel mileage at the front of the field. If anyone can really encapsulate this saying, victim of success, it may end up being Vroman in this race. Spent a lot of time up at the front in that number 95 car, still leading this race in front of the likes of Jonathan Delaney and Lucas Hoytsman in P2 and P3 respectively. But as you just said, JP, in the midst of all of that, Vroman has been punching that hole in the air, supplying the draft to all of the cars behind and getting worse fuel numbers as a result. He does have a very fast race car though, so if he has to take more time in the pits, and there is a yellow that comes out between now and the checkered flag in about 46.5 laps time, Vroman would still be a driver that we have to keep tabs on. But if we stay green to the end, and we have those green flag stops, and Vroman has to spend a lot more time down pit lane compared to some of the others, he's not going to be feeling too good about it all. Very quick in this race, stupidly quick throughout this race even. At the same time, sometimes lifting off is the better strategy in these plate events.
Look at some of the cars here in the pack as they run. Tower Hunter, one of the underdogs, you can call it, when it comes to speed. We haven't seen him too much at the front all throughout the season. But tonight he's been up there leading laps at times. This is one of those races where you can surprise people, and Tower Hunter might have surprised some people with what he's been able to do with that 48 machine. Some good speed showcased when he's been up front.
And all the drivers that we've got up at the front of the field have either been in the race lead or close to it. They've got some fast race cars up at the front. And really, to discredit any of them would be a bit of a disservice because they have all got some speedy race cars underneath them. The real question is, how well have they set themselves up for these final 45 laps? Will they have to worry about fuel a bit more than others? Will they have a clear coast to make it to the end? There's a lot of stuff that is helping these drivers and a lot of stuff that is hurting them. We'll say, though, the gap between Kolmacheski in P14 and the 88 machine and this man Hall in the number 1, that is insane. Going from Kolmacheski, who's 1.2, 1.3 seconds off of your race leader of Roman, to Hall, who is massively farther behind. About 9 seconds is the gap between P14 and P15, which for a plate race is that is a vast yawning chasm.
That air pack, by the way, is doing the exact same things. The air pack just not as fast right now. All of them just working together. Murray's been trying as he might to push that one car. It just won't go. Pearson's been doing the same. And the problem is, it just won't go. Dustin Hall going to have a solid finish regardless. It's been up and down this season for him in the Conti camp.
And still a long way left to go here from this 2025 season. Plenty of more opportunities left to go to try and punch your ticket into the playoffs. But at the same time, for some of these drivers who see these opportunities at the front as being a bit of a rarity, we don't have many more plate races left to go until we have to think about the start of the playoffs all the way there. And quite some time when we reach the first round of the round of 16 on August the 30th here on Maconi Entertainment. Gonna have to wait from here at Talladega on April the 26th all the way through to Atlanta at the start of the in-season tournament on June the 28th to find the next plate race. So nearly 2 months until we head to another one. And then after that, it will be another 2-month break before Daytona to end this regular season. So as much as these drivers may have plenty more opportunities left in their back pockets, if they're sizing up these plate races, that's the only shot to do well. There's not a lot of time left.
Hall got shuffled out there on screen. He got moved around on the apron. That's a scary moment. So apologies popped up, I believe, on the radio after that. All goods as well after that bad push to the back end of the one machine that sent him below the apron. And that means now Alex Murray gets to lead the pack. In fact, they're all splintered apart with the Conti cars moved back with Hodgson as well with there.
Back up at the front of the field following this train of race cars. Roman is still leading it, still punching that hole in the air. But JP, we have reached an important stage of this race. I think we are not terribly far away, if not we have already passed it, of this fuel window opening. If these drivers come into the pits this time by, it will be rather sketchy for them to make it to the end. And if we have a green-white checker, you can forget about them making it to the end. But we are getting to the point where we may see these drivers make that call to pit. If you were one of these drivers, JP, would you come in at the nearest opportunity and try and just stretch your fuel number to be there at the end of regulation and not really worry about those green-white checkers? Or are you going to run out of fuel out there here on track and get to the end of the stint and then come in instead of short filling?
Lap traffic is ahead here. So for the first time in a while, it will be drivers having to deal with lap traffic amongst those drivers about to get lapped here. Kevin Zolciak, Ed Ryan, Gregory Robinson. Remember, Robinson had been at the front of the field at one point again, but now to the back again as two rookies lose their laps here, and they are staying at the bottom to blend in the pack.
And I wonder how that strategy call is going to work out for them, waiting for these drivers to blow their doors off. If they can get the tow, they are going to be in the catbird seat, but at the same time, you can see these drivers still dicing around. This is built up. There's been some tension building over these past couple of laps. We've seen more close calls.
Williams in the wall. Williams has slammed the wall as they went 3 wide to get around the traffic. Hard contact to the 05 machine. No caution. We stay green.
And you know, that just about proved the point that I was raising, talking about how the tension was building and something was going to snap. It hasn't brought the yellow out. However, this was a bit of contact heading down that backstretch off into 3 and 4. Look at the 05 on that high side. And contact with the 56. The 48 getting a piece of that drama as well. The 56 has gotten involved in his fair share of collisions thus far in this race. The 05, very unfortunate. They got involved in a drama coming out of the tri-oval not terribly long ago, and this time getting involved in their very own incident, this time heading into 3 and 4. Tough stuff nonetheless for Williams.
Driver having some issues. Hearing some people saying they're having to come down pretty soon for fuel. That leaves them with under 40 to go, with some of the drivers having to come in. That includes Dustin Hall, who just called on the radio. He is going to have to come down soon. All at the front, though. That incident has made it an 8-car breakaway from the rest of the pack. Vroom Vroom over to Laney, Hoytsma, Stone, Kritz, DeCiani, O'Brien Jr., and Hill. Well, the only ones in the main pack. Looking on board with Stone, and the car just does not want to reach 200 miles an hour right now.
And you can see him modulating the throttle in that number 57 car as well. Want to stay in that draft, take the runs when they are allotted to Stone in that 57 machine. It's a strategy that you see played at all sorts of played races, that we're seeing it here at Talladega tonight. Now that we are below 40 laps left to go in this race, at 37 to go to be a bit more precise, how are you going to tackle the end of this race if you are Roman? You've been punching that hole in the air. You're probably getting some terrible fuel numbers. If he has to come into the pits well clear of everybody else, well earlier than everybody else, that will be a rather unfortunate set of circumstances for Roman to find himself in. So if you are Roman in that number 95 car, how do you play this final stop?
Well, probably going to have to come a lap or two earlier than some of the others, have to go on the undercut strategy. That's going to be forced upon him, you'd have to think. But it's also going to be who goes with him. And a lot of people are not communicating that. On Petrovic, who had been back in the lead lap, now loses the lap again. Stoney Benfield and William Owens try and stay up to the high side. Slow course through the lap traffic this time. A little bit dangerous, but they survive it.
And these close quarters moments have been getting a bit more common as we have gone into this lengthy green flag run. But every single time they start to end in less and less of a near disaster. The first couple of ones we had, holy cow, that could have ended in tears. Now, though, we are getting to the point where these drivers are knowing what to do whenever these sketchy moments arise. So I am genuinely thinking we may end up seeing this green flag run stretch to under 30 to go. I won't say it'll stretch all the way to the end of this race. However, it's looking pretty good at the moment. These racers a little bit farther spread out than they have been at all throughout this race, and it's created a nice little groove for these drivers to settle into.
Just a small rhythm up front. See these drivers now settling in. You'll see people coming down pit road pretty soon. He's done the lengths of these stints right now, all running 25, 30 laps just about on the docket so far. No one else has called for pit stops yet. John Williams, by the way, is the latest to join the DNF list officially. 26 cars are still circulating Talladega. That's a lot of DNFs. We started with 45.
Yeah, lots of drivers getting called out by the big ones that we've had thus far in this race. Can't necessarily say I'm surprised. It's Talladega. You're going to have stuff like that happen every now and then. But with this field spread out as much as it is, unless we have some further yellow intervention, we may end up seeing a vast majority of these drivers still running around here make it to the end. 34 coming to 33 to go this time by Vroom, Vroom, still vrooming at the front of the field, holding his own on that bottom lane. That 95 car has been an indomitable force all throughout this race here at Talladega. Roman, if anyone is going to get the dub, I feel like the 95 is a pretty safe bet.
Pit stop time, 13th on back, just pit. Alex Murray, Devin Medeiros, come on in, as well as some of the lap cars. So pit stops are underway now, with us at 33 to go. This should, by a solid margin, get drivers to the end on fuel here. And a lot of people taking two tires here, looking like people just taking left sides.
And as we continue to see these pit stops continue on, that was beautiful phraseology from me. I do want to raise one thing talking about the drivers in this field. Nicholas Roman already has a win thus far this season, as does the number 6 of Jonathan Delaney, along with the number 97 of Lucas Hoytsma. All of those drivers who I really have outlined as being the ones we need to keep eyes on, this would be their second win this season, and they would be the first, if any of them could get done, be the first to grab multiple wins thus far this season. Still rather early stages, but no one has been able to snap through and grab that second win yet. Keyword being yet. I think tonight may be the night.
Roman leaves the main group with the lead in front. Still going to be a fair bit back are these drivers right now in this pack. Seminario, Kovaceski, Jones, Schofield yet to come down, and there they go for their pit service. The air pack will blend right behind Ed Ryan, interestingly enough, in terms of the pack, and now they look to cruise. 32 laps to go. And already, let's immediately pass the lap car, they say.
And getting that move ton to deal with those cars, but this pit cycle, this is going to be the money stop. This may end up being the last pit cycle of the day, so super, super important for these drivers and these teams to nail it down as best as they can.
Ariel off and away. Already, they've been zoomed on by that front 8. So they'll need a caution, obviously, to have any chance of being in the conversation for the race win. Never say never when it comes to Talladega, obviously, but Savanario also came out a second ahead of everybody else on the pit lane.
And that's a very nice cushion to have. 1 second around here at Talladega. 1 second gaps and above are about as hard to find in a race at Talladega as it is to try and find a living T-Rex, so that is a very nice margin to have.
Yeah, but only one car. That's not the greatest when you only have one car. It's going to get you eaten up alive on the track. So, looking at the front of the field, now with 30 laps to go, when do you expect this intensity level to start picking up here?
If I had to put a number on it, I would probably end up saying around lap 28 is when we're going to start to see this race start to heat up. It's somewhere in the 20s for sure, either 28, 25, or on 20 to go even. Probably going to be when we start to see it get intense. Lap 160, obviously, gonna get into the intense stuff at the end of it all. 25 laps to go. That's a rather big, significant margin, and 20 to go as well. That's another nice little number to hit for these drivers. Say, you know what, screw it. I'm going for the moves. I'm going for the sense. I'm taking these runs, and I want to try and get my way up to the front.
It's going to be interesting when it does end up happening, to say the least. It's going to be an eventual move. It's just going to be the matter of when that eventual becomes very much a real thing. So, mind you, if it comes down to it, we still have an hour and 28 minutes on a clock as well. So, not to jinx things, but there is time if things start to boil over. Stony Penfield has now parked the car. We're down to 25 running. We have just about 20 cars that have parked their machines here at Talladega here tonight. And this is still expected to be an eventful one. I will say, since some of the updates as of late, this car doesn't feel like a tank like it used to where it could take hits. These axles have been able to brake pretty quickly, and we've seen a lot of people break down because of contact.
Yeah, we've even seen in some of the crashes up to this point in the race, some of those wheels getting a little bit of a wobble on after a collision. So we are going to see these drivers decide, you know what, I don't have a chance of winning this race. I'm going to dip at some of the drivers a couple of laps down, which there are a handful of in this field. That will be something that will play a big factor in it all. We'll also raise this. The track temperatures have cooled off quite a lot since the last time we mentioned this. 97 degrees Fahrenheit is the current track temperature. That is still rather boiling hot, but compared to what was at 117, 118 in the earlier stages of this broadcast, these drivers are going to be freezing in comparison.
Yeah, you see those temperatures on screen. This is going to be the most grip they've had all night. All that doesn't matter. Still though, 27 to go. Some of the others look like this. Paul Hill has been one of the drivers now to lose the draft. So 7 are in the main pack. Hill is working with that second group. Still will be a good run no matter what you'd have to say for the 26 with how things have been considered so far tonight for him.
Yeah, that it certainly would, as we see these drivers at the north end of the field still running around this track. That gap between 7th and 8th is ballooned out. That is a huge cushion that these drivers in the top 7 find themselves holding on to at the present moment. Will they be able to hold on to it between now and the checkered flag? Only time will tell. What I know for sure, though, is that we're getting to the stage of this race where these drivers are maybe going to dip their toes in the water. They want to see what sort of moves they can make. They did a little bit of R&D, as I described it at the time, during stage 1. But now that we are entering the final stages of this race, in the final stage for quite some time, and approaching the final 20 laps left in this event, I wonder what these drivers are going to try and do. Will they try and make some sort of different lane work? Will they just try and learn what their competitors are good and bad at? That is the real thing that's riding in my head, and the thing that these drivers are considering how to tackle the end of this race.
Right now we're seeing how some of these packs look. Komacheski fell all the way back into the 3rd pack on the track. Right now working with that in Benderfield. Yeah, Murray in the pack. Dustin Hall in that group. Darrell's as well with him and Nolan Hodgson. This seems so calm and so serene with these mini packs, with no one wanting to battle because of the opportunities at stake here, it seems. Just plotting and planning is all you can really say once again, Ron.
Yeah, plotting. That's a very good word to describe it all, JP. These drivers are getting into the stage where they're looking at their competitors thinking, okay, what can I do? What sort of weaknesses do they have? What sort of strengths that I have? Will I be able to, I think the best way to describe it is pick apart the way their competitors are running around here and use that to their advantage. Only time will tell still. With the amount of racing we've had thus far, it feels counterintuitive to say this, but 23 coming to 22 and a half laps here at Talladega is still a lot of racing action left. And for these competitors at the front of the field, It is a stacked field. Vroman, Hoytsma, they've been the drivers we've talked about a lot throughout this race. I still want to keep my eyes on that number 97 Sonny D machine to get his second win in a row. Vroman, this will be his second win if he can get the move done. Jonathan Delaney, who I mentioned earlier on, has already grabbed the win thus far this season. That coming a little bit earlier on before this week, obviously. And then your P3 runner of Cameron Stone in the number 57 car. They've had a pretty good running in this event all the way through to this point. And actually entering this round, Cameron Stone in that number 57 car. Not locked in on a win yet, but they were 25 points above the cut line coming into this race here at Talladega. So to be above that cut line, be in the green, and also potentially lock your way into the playoffs with a win here at Talladega, that is just about the dream case scenario when it comes to the points discussion.
Picture perfect chance for some of these drivers to bust their way ahead in the standings. A race run like this, Dylan Kritz, you could also throw in that conversation what an upset that would be if he was able to break on through here tonight. So far, he's had a really rough season, but the 64 has just been keeping it calm all night and has just been waiting in the wings for something to boil over.
It's like preparing a big bowl of pasta for dinner. That's exactly what it is. Eventually, the water's going to boil over. Grabbing that ice cube from the freezer and trying to dunk it into the water, you're going to be a little bit too slow in that. And in the process of it all, it's going to hit that heating element, and you're going to get a big face full of steam in front of you, and that will be the warning sign for these drivers. Once that steam starts to rise up, you know you've hit that danger zone. You've hit that razor thin margin between getting a risky move done and ending up buried in the safer barrier around here. These drivers will definitely find that limit soon, as we are now under 20 laps left to go here at Talladega.
Komacheski on board with. They're trying to close up right now, a little bit at least, to where they can leapfrog ahead. There's a chance, actually, with how things are looking. Komacheski might drive them all the way up into that pack for 8th on up. We might see the two packs converge here.
That we could probably potentially have to hope for some sort of major event to kind of twist it all, but hey, we've seen some stranger things in this race for CERN. That is not an insurmountable gap at all, and if those two catch up, they would probably have to hope for some sort of yellow flag intervention, because frankly, closing up 20 seconds out there on the racetrack is pretty impossible to do in this stage, in this day and age of plate racing. But either way, though, it would be a very valiant effort for these drivers battling for those spots to be able to close up and give us a monolith of a fight. And hey, if those two close up, having more cars battling tooth and nail, that would lead to us potentially having a higher chance of a yellow coming out in the final few laps of this event.
Yeah, there is a chance of that, absolutely. With what we've seen here at Talladega, with packs converging, disaster can strike very easily with minds not linking up in terms of what they have in mind for how they want to be raced. Good effort by Benefield now with the push. They're having some fun over the radio here. Murray pushing hard as well. And that's one of the things noticing. Some of these drivers having a bit of fun to close up these gaps now.
Yeah, despite the fact that we are as far into this race as we are now on lap 170, these drivers still not losing sight of the fact that we're here to have a good time, here to put on some good racing, but here to have some fun as well. These racers gonna give us a fun battle to talk about if they can reel in that gap. Following Komacheski in that number 88 car, you can see him fluttering that gas pedal in the 88 machine. keeping a steady click of about 195 miles an hour. Now 196 up to 197, maybe going to graze 198 off into turn number 1 and 2. But Komacheski very fast in that 88 car, taking those runs, and look at how much that gap has closed up in this small little spiel of mine. That has diminished.
Yeah, they almost tapped the draft. They're going to have a bridge that's going to help them. Juan Petrovic is now that bridge they can jump across to be able to get to that pack. Still 16 laps to go. There's the bridge. Juan Petrovic is not moving. They're trying to push, and they've lost some speed. In fact, they did not really do well with his draft. They didn't really see a surge of speed like one would think. They still are maintaining the growing closing margin they need to close up here. Still coming up to 15 laps to go.
Yeah, 15 laps of racing action left here at Talladega. At race car speeds, that can go by in the blink of an eye. But for these racers, setting themselves up as best as they can in their respective battles, these final 15 laps will feel like 15 years. The pressure has been ramped up on these drivers ever since the drop of the green flag. But even though about 3 hours has passed since then, it's still a tense situation for these racers all throughout this field. Whether you be your race leader of Vroman, whether it be your P10 runner of Jones, or whether you go a little bit farther back to find this man, Komacheski, running in 12th at the moment in the number 88 machine, it is still intense all throughout this field. The pressure is ramped up. It is palpable. You can cut with a knife at the present moment. And let's just wait and see how it'll be in the final few laps. Look at the speed from Komacheski, scraping well over 200.
First time really we've seen over 200. In fact, what a run for Komacheski down the straightaway. They're almost there. Benefield is a really good pushing car, it seems. That's something we may have to watch for later on. Oh, that wasn't a good push in the corner. So apologies over the radio pop up, as they are now just about getting the whip of the draft.
And now that you can see Komacheski getting involved in that draft, that gap is going to diminish over the span of the next couple of moments. Let's see, down the back straightaway again for the 88 car, 200 miles an hour last time by, scraping up to 199, 200, 201, 203. Holy cow, that is hauling the mail. Down off it to 3 and 4. Komacheski has reeled in that gap. The draft is very much so what Komacheski is in right now, and now that gap is going to disappear with a blink of an eye.
How does Komacheski now play this? Will anybody try and block the run they get here? Looking to stick to the bottom for now. Here comes Komacheski, and a block by Jones. Jones tries to block, huge checkup. Some drivers elect to just stick to the bottom. Murray goes 3 wide. He goes up the middle, trying to shoot past everybody. And Murray able to make the pass on Jones. Now another Conti car. Seminario with the block as they get a triple car punt.
And this sort of battling, as intense as it may be and exciting as it is, it will not be music to the ears of the drivers a little bit farther up towards the front of the field. If these drivers come to blows, we're going to have a late race restart to think about. And based off how hard the battling has been and how hard the battling will be, I can't rule that out of happening at all, JP. These drivers, the entire fate of this race really lies in their hands, and they are so close to each other heading off through these corners.
Now it looks like the pack starting to stabilize a little bit. Dustin Hall wants those who leapfrog lap traffic and Zodiac, but Daryl's doing the same. It's one of the more active, in fact, it is the most active battling we have on the track. Coming up now to 10 to go for this field coming up here next time by. And now this is about the time you expect these types of battles to really kick off here If you want some points, if you want a top 10, you better start fighting.
Yeah, this is the time to pant if you are one of these competitors. If you're going to make a move, it better be now, and it better be decisive as well. This is not the time to lollygag around. You need to go for a move, and you need to be confident in that move whenever you go for it. Have a little bit of help as well is not going to be a thing that hurts these drivers out at all. In fact, getting a little bit of help obviously going to help you out if you want to get a move done. 2x2 at the front of this pack. The fighting is still raging on.
10 to go. Seminario gets pushed past Tower Hunter. Hunter had been running 19th. He was amongst the drivers with the pit cycle, lost the lap. And now Seminario all the way to 8th. That's the farthest they can get. Lots of lap cars trying to fight for their own positions here to make things even more interesting.
And once those lap cars get involved in all of it, you're going to start to see these drivers maybe get a bit more frustrated. It's bad enough dealing with competitors battling tooth and nail, scraping and clawing for every single position they can in terms of overall finishing spots. When you got lap cars involved in all that, it really starts to get frustrating for some of those competitors. Back up in the front of the field, though, now with 9 to go, it's a 95 of Roman and the 97 of Hoytsma in front of the 57 of Stone. Those drivers occupying the top 4 all have very fast race cars, but just about everyone in that front pack has a good shot of winning it.
Nobody has taken a shot to make a move yet at the front compared to what we've seen at the back of the group in the top 10. Some drivers seem to be backing up the runs, though, like DeCiani and O'Brien Jr. Your pack now has calmed back down for now. Looks like Noah Hodson might lose the draft with how they're looking at the moment. Field is now to 8 to go.
Just 8 laps left for these competitors. 180 in the rearview mirror. And for these drivers, JP, I wonder what they have compartmentalized in those past 180 laps. What are they going to take into this battle? What sort of intel, what sort of knowledge, and what sort of logic is going to be going through these drivers' brains as they see that checkered flag come closer and closer and closer with every shift of the gear, with every turn of the wheel, and every single time that engine hits the rev limiter. This race has flown by. Roman still at the front of the field. This pack, though, is what I want to keep my eyes on, because with how hard they've been dicing, with how hard they've been scrapping, and how intensely they've been clawing for spots, I don't know. I feel like it is something's gonna break here soon. I would be frankly a little bit flabbergasted if we make it all the way to the end of regulation under green flag conditions with how hard these drivers have been scrapping.
Somebody's going to make a mistake. The question is when. Still time falling away with coming to 6 laps to go. So big of an advantage that the leaders are in 3 and 4. These drivers are in 1 and 2. 28 seconds, the cushion built by the top 7. How they've turned things around. Vroom Vroom has led the most laps tonight. You can argue with what he's done. Can he be the first multi-race winner after joining later in the season? He's been absolutely stellar in all his races. One of the drivers, formerly a part of Ryko's factory team, elected to run on his own as a free agent, still with the Ryko setups, but is on his lonesome. Vroom Vroom really doing well throughout this season. Can he be the first multi-race winner? Hoytsma on his bumper trying to do the same thing.
I've been beating this dead horse for some time, and I will continue to say that the 97 of Hoytsma, that Sunny D-Mobile car, that is going to be the one that I want to keep my eyes on. He's been quick from the drop of the green flag all the way through to now in the last couple of laps. Coming to 5 to go this time by Hoytsma. He's got the speed to give a pretty good bump to Roman. If you're Lucas Hoytsma, though, are you happy with the points today? Are you happy just to remain in tow? Or are you going to maybe force this issue a little bit? I could understand both sides of it from Hoytsma, but I feel like if he doesn't pounce, someone probably will.
Our checkups now as lap traffic moves to the top. That is Komacheski moving out of the way. Coming to 4 laps to go now. Still no drivers taking it side by side yet in this pack. Somebody has to do something if they want to try and win this race. Looking at Stone, he thinks about the plotting and planning. 4 to go at the stripe.
4 laps of racing action here at Talladega. It is going to be a brawl for these drivers. A tick over 8 miles left for these competitors. Vroman still in the race lead. About 0.08 of a second is the gap between himself and Hoytsma. Hoytsma's continuing to look at a move. He keeps looking on that outside line to maybe just shuffle Vroman back. Of all the drivers who've been quick in this race, Vroman has been the top of the top. That number 95 car has been quick. So if you are Hoytsma, if you are Stone, if you're Delaney, or if you're any of the drivers involved in that front pack fight, getting rid of Vroman and shuffling him down to the back is probably within your best interest, as Adam Benefiel in the number 83 car has come in for a last-second splash and dash down pit lane, 7.4 seconds in the pit stall. So that is done and dusted for Benefiel, currently running in 16th, 1 lap down, breaking away from that pack that we saw a little bit farther in the back. But to the point that I raised now with 3 to go here, JP, if you are the drivers involved in that front pack fight, I believe it would be in your best interest to shuffle that 95 car out.
Here they go. It's Delaney that takes the move. Most of the field moved up. They all drove past Cam Stone. Stone did not get a chance to respond, and everybody falls behind the purple machine. Coming up now to 2 laps to go, the first major shuffle. Stone's losing the draft. 2 more lap cars are ahead. If you want to make the move, you better make it fast before you get the traffic, or wait until you get past the clean air. Right now, no one else making the cut. Hoytsma with some good bumping as they clear the 2 to go.
You know, with that lap traffic a little bit farther up the road, this may be the time to pounce if you're Hoytsma. Look at those 2 breaking away. Again, those lap cars dealt with heading through around the outside of 1 and 2. Who's going to have the run? Who's going to have the momentum? I think Vroman, he was very lucky that he got away with 1 there. How are these lap cars going to affect this battle is a question I've got in my head. They're tracking mid-track. Will Vroman get hung out on the outside, or are they going to switch to the outside and hang him out to dry on the inside? They're coming with a white flag here in about a mile's time. Let's see if that yellow comes out beforehand. I think with how spread out this field is, we may be making it to the white this time by here, JP. Vroman gonna be leading, entering that tri-oval. He may take the white. Let's see if he takes that checker.
White flag is out, final time around here with the FLCC. Somebody has to make the move. Who does it down the backstretch? It's been a dominant run for Nicholas Vroman. He tries to play the lines. Now he's going to have to be ready for this boost. Delaney pushes Hoytsma. No one cuts outside yet. They all stay single file down the backstretch. Now they work to turn 3. Somebody has to do something if they want to try and win this race. The top 3 have all picked up wins so far. First without a win is Kritz. Here comes Hoytsma. He ditches out the 95. Lucas Hoytsma drives on the outside, pulls away. Delaney looks to try and drive by his teammate. It's Hoytsma who gets the win. Back-to-back victories, the first multi-race winner in 2025.
And that right there is a statement from the driver of the number 97 car. Lucas Hoytsma waited and timed that run to perfection. Vroman dropping down from 1st to 4th in the span of the final 500 feet of this race. That's going to be a heartbreaker nonetheless. Look at lap traffic getting involved in this battle with the 7 and the 26 coming right to the line. That will be Murray finishing in P8 in front of Hill in 9th. But Hoytsma putting in a statement performance here at Talladega to grab his second win of this season and become the first driver to grab multiple wins, and doing it back-to-back in the process at the most challenging track of all. Hoytsma, the number 97 car, returning to victory lane, shining bright in that Sunny D car.
Hoytsma talked about the difficulties of being able to win a race like this tonight. Well, you just won it. Did so with some smart drive at the very end of the race. It's burnout time for RH Motorsports' Lucas Hoytsma. So Weitzman gets to celebrate the race win here tonight. We'll take a step aside in just a moment. Come back, post-race results and post-race coverage. You're watching coverage of the Full Length Cup Challenge on Maconi Entertainment here from Talladega.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Talladega for post-race coverage of the Full Length Cup Challenge here at Maconi Entertainment. We're at the end, the racing going more than 3 and nearly 3.5 hours. Hoytsma takes the race win tonight over his teammate Jonathan Delaney. Dylan Kritz was in an alliance tonight, working with those two. That's 1, 2, 3 for their alliance members. Nicholas Vroman finished in 4th, Matt DiCiani in 5th. Sean O'Brien Jr. finished in 6th. In front of Cam Stone, Alex Murray, Paul Hill, and Jim Schofield, your top 10.
And then looking through the drivers that we have finishing outside of the top 10, a little bit farther back than what we had in terms of that front pack fight. You can just see the gaps once we get behind Sean O'Brien Jr. 9 seconds back to Cameron Stone and Alex Murray running in P8. I will let you know that our 11th place finisher at the end of this race will end up being Ryan S. Jones. He takes it at the end of it all. Johan Seminaro will finish this race in 12th. Nolan Hodgson had a very fast race car, finishes in the lucky number P13. Dustin Hall will finish in 14th. Devin Medeiros, my apologies, will finish in P15. Thomas Kobacheski will finish in 16th. Adam Benefield in 17th. William Owens in 18th. Tyler Hunter will finish in P19 with Stephen Williams rounding out our first half of the field in 20th.
21st went to Gregory Robinson, followed by Kevin Zilziak. Then it's Juan Petrovic in 23rd, Ed Ryan 24th, with Jordan Pearson in 25th. Betfield in 26th spot, with Williams behind him, Hoffman, Ralph Hutchinson, and Eddie Rose, a part of the many DNFs.
And then the list of DNFs continue. Rounding out our results, we have Jason S. Taylor in 31st, Heitman, Marty, Daniel Lawallo actually picked up a disqualification and all of that, Chad Sanner, Billy Brickley in 36th, Andrew Dyson, Evan Musnard finishing in 38th, Bobby Anderson in 39th, Brandon Hastings rounding out our top 40 at the end of this, Neil Pearson, Joey Prieb finishes in 42nd, Larry McDonald, Carl Dotson, and Tommy Gossett rounds out your 45 cars classified at the end of this race here at Talladega. JP, we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us. I will let you take first dibs.
Yes, indeed. Your race winner tonight, Lucas Hoytsma, able to come away with the win here in this one. Lucas, how are you feeling after coming away with the win? You get the week sweep with Friday Night Lights combined in.
I cannot believe it. That is so cool. I mean, to get a win at Talladega is hard enough. You needed so much to go your way. And to get 2 in a weekend is unheard of. I cannot believe it. It's all thanks to everybody on the team. Ralph for, this absolute rocket ship we were in tonight. Everybody over at Fortis, everybody on RHM. It was a big group tonight working together. And it just all came together, and we didn't get that caution didn't come out. That would have screwed us. We just went green all the way to the end, and it was perfect, and it couldn't have gone better. And man, you don't get that lucky too often. So I'm thanking my lucky stars tonight, and that was an awesome race.
Talk us through the final lap. Says it was the question, when's somebody going to make a move? When is somebody going to make a move? And then the move came. What was going through your mind as you were trying to plot that out for the final lap?
I knew I had to be on Roman's bumper. If I wanted a chance at getting to his outside, I had to be inside that bubble. And I knew nobody could be outside of me. So I just pushed it as far as I could go. And luckily, the guys behind me kind of fell back. I had room to make it. Got outside. Roman saw what happened. He didn't put me up in the wall or anything, so appreciate him for that. Made sure to give those guys room below me because they were going crazy, and Delaney was able to get by and take home a second as well. Dylan a third. I mean, it's like I said, it couldn't have gone better. I mean, we all made sure not to wreck each other, and that's how you do it at these plate tracks.
So where do you take it from here now? You're the first multi-race winner of the season, so that puts you in a great spot. How do you approach Texas now, knowing you have that momentum?
I'm gonna go in there, and 2 race wins. It gives you a lot of wiggle room. You can try some risky strategies to get a third one. Points mean a lot less when you got a few wins, and they still matter for sure. That regular season championship's a big one, but getting wins is a big one as well. So we're gonna be fighting hard next week and doing some dicey stuff, I'm sure.
Any shout-outs you'd like to give here tonight?
Absolutely. Just, again, big shout out to RHM, Ralph, and everybody else on the team. Fortis for working with us tonight. It was a good alliance. Worked well. Quinn at 712 Brakes, Low Drag Esports, Randy Lee, want to give him a big shout out, and you guys and everybody else for putting this thing on. It was a really fun night.
Congratulations on the run here tonight and the win.
Thank you.
Lucas Weitzman coming away with the W in this evening. Jonathan Delaney comes away second. And RHM 1-2 Delaney's with Ron.
Jonathan Delaney, welcome here into the commentary booth. Man, that 6 car was up at the front throughout a decent chunk of this race, finishing P2 at the end of it all. How about you talk us through this race here at Talladega?
Yeah, man, it was a crazy one. We got pretty lucky. Pretty much all race, we were kind of able to stay out of the wrecks. We were able to stay up front, and that's just what you got to do at play tracks like this. We were able to work really well with my teammates and Fortis Motorsports. We were really, really good all night working with them on restarts and pit stops and whatnot. So huge shout out to those guys and all my teammates for getting this, for making this even possible. We all worked really good all night. And if you don't have teammates at plate tracks, you're in a world of hurt for sure. So definitely having teammates makes a world of a difference. But yeah, we played the strategy right all night. Congrats to Lucas for winning it. Second win of the year for him. So yeah, I'm really happy. We had a good night. And yeah, going on to Texas and next week. So back to 1.5 miles. So yeah.
Now, I was just going to ask you about the next race of the season at Texas in 1 week's time. That is going to be that's going to be a rather big departure from here at Talladega. So what are your thoughts heading into it?
Yeah. It's not my favorite track, that's for sure. It's I think I do pretty good there. I'm all right. I know last year in the Coke race, the field really it was pretty packed up, but you were able to move around a lot. The track really opened up. You were able to race turns 1 and 2, pretty much the entire bottom to car length or 2 off the wall, and then 3 and 4s kind of did the same thing. So hopefully we can get some cool dynamic track working there again. But I think it's going to be a cool track. So cross our fingers and hope we get a little hotter track and make it more a little bit more racy, but we'll see. But yeah, Texas is one of those tracks where dirty air is pretty big. You got to try and stay up front and really maintain track position. So that's a long race too. So being there at the end, as always, is just going to be what you got to do. So and keeping up with the car and the track temp as the race goes on. So yeah.
And really looking forward to the next round of the championship at Texas in 1 week's time. Jonathan, you had some shouts out earlier on, but I will pass the mic off to you if there's any more thanks or shouts out you want to give before we let you go.
Yeah, so like I said, shout out to my teammates at Ralph Hodgson Motorsports. Had an amazing Q car that was able to put it on the pole. And amazing race set too, thanks to Logan Sheets. So Shout out to all those teammates. We're leading the team championship right now, so hopefully we can keep our momentum. We all been doing really good. So keep that going and keep the team championship to the very end of the season and win that. But also shout out, like I said, for the Fortis guys for working with us tonight and Roman. So that's all I got. Thank you guys up in the booth for broadcasting this race. It's probably a little bit boring one, but got a little interesting there towards the end. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank the admins, Damaris, or not Damaris, Bryson, Bobby, and Jason for putting this together. It's always fun to race Saturday nights here with this league. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys.
And thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth as well, Jonathan. Well done on the P2 and excited to see you back out on the track in Texas, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. You guys too.
Jonathan Delaney coming away second spot tonight. Dylan Kritz rounds out the top three. And Dylan, first time I've really seen you up inside the top three all season. How are you feeling about a good run?
I'm pretty thrilled, man. I didn't think I'd be here. This is great.
Talk to us about your night as you were amongst the drivers who, of course, found yourself in the lead pack as all things settled out. What was going through your mind as the night progressed?
I was just trying to get a good finish for the most part. You know how Talladega is. It's unpredictable. Bunch of different wrecks. Just kind of trying to keep the car clean, help out the team where you can. Just mainly helping each other out. Had a strategy, stick to it. Be there at the end. Actually cross the checkered. And ended up third.
Well, how would you describe your season as a whole, as we haven't seen you as much as you may have liked up towards the front this season, but of course, you find yourself up front tonight?
I was kind of running a part-time season, so it's been ups and downs. You know, had some good runs. I was really disappointed with Darlington getting having a wreck there, and thought that was going to be a good finish. So happy to have a good finish here instead. It's nice to have these small ones. You know, it's kind of a morale booster for the rest of the season.
Any shouts you'd like to give here tonight after this one?
A couple. So RHM and Fortis for working together there. Cam Stone, even though he got shuffled out and just dropped like a rock. Black Flag Motorsports is definitely not dead. And CC O'Brien's for all the bar food and sports watching that you need.
Congratulations here on the run here tonight.
Hey, thanks.
Dylan Kritz rounding out the top three. I'd like to thank the entire top three for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Next time up we go to Texas, Ron. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, Texas is certainly a racetrack in the United States of America that hosts some auto racing events. It's one that could be rather divisive in the world of real-life racing and in the sim as well. But I have a feeling that these drivers of the Full-Length Cup Challenge are going to be in for a good one. And hey, the night before that, doing a little bit of a show here, you'll be able to catch the action from the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. So if you want a preview as to how that Cup race may be the day after, have to check the Xfinity broadcast also here on Maconi Entertainment. It's always a good one. These drivers like to put on a good show. This was another fantastic race, and really looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes.
Once again, we'll see that next week to start the month of May. May the 3rd is the day. So, on that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage of the Full-Length Cup Challenge. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Ron Mons, with DJ Lyon producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's racing action. Hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time.
You want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.